Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are live here on Facebook and YouTube, Golden Boy Pickleball. This is Scott Golden, your host for tonight's interview. I've got a special guest coming on with me tonight. You're going to really enjoy this interview, and I'm excited to introduce him to you guys and to bring him on live with me here shortly. We're getting a couple little kinks worked out just before 5, so I apologize. We're starting just a little bit after 5, which is pretty standard protocol for me. I try to start exactly when I say, but sometimes technology tends to have other things to say. So as you can see, tonight's interview is brought to you by Selkirk and the Canadian Pickleball Series. So I would like to give a huge thank you and shout out to Selkirk and the Canadian Pickleball Series for sponsoring this event. And if you'll give me just a second, somebody's knocking on the door. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Somebody, I think it was FedEx or something, knocked on the door. I apologize about that. Okay, I didn't know if I had locked my girlfriend out of her own place or not, so wanted to make sure that didn't happen. But all right, so I've got a special guest, like I said. Thank you guys, as the viewers, for joining us. You are just going to be absolutely just in for a treat tonight. Joe is a guy who I'm meeting also for the very first time. I've never actually been on the pickleball court with him. However, I do know that he's a phenomenal pickleball player, but he's also phenomenal at creating TikTok videos and making them go viral. And we're going to jump into all that and get it, just get excited about this interview because he's got lots to say. The guy is an absolute blast, got a great personality. And I'm going to just bring him on because we're a few minutes late. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Joe on now. And you guys will get to meet him. My man,
Hey,
Joe Tony, what's
hey,
up?
what's up? No, man, I'm good. How
Man.
are you? Just experiencing some technical difficulties, you know?
Yeah, it's weird because I've done these a lot, and I never have any issues with what happened to you and I just now. But apparently, it only went live on YouTube, and then it was unlisted, which meant that it was not publicly being able to be viewed. So I wanted to make sure everybody could tune into this, and because it's going to be rough.
I won't take it as a slight against me. I won't.
Yeah, I was like, man, he's going to think I didn't want anybody to watch his interview.
Steve Deacon just texted me and said, "Hey, are you live or are you hiding from everybody?" So I mean, everyone's getting their shots in already. So it's
I
good.
love it, man. I love it. Yeah, it's funny because technology is one of those things that I absolutely love. I think it's crucial to today's society in 2020. But every once in a while, it will throw you a curveball, and
Absolutely.
You just got to roll with the punches, though, right?
You know what? Like I was talking about this with so many people right now. Like technology is so good right now for us because given this quarantine, right, and the coronavirus and everything, I think people are jumping on more and talking to just people that maybe they haven't connected with in a while, right? Like I haven't seen my grandparents in probably 6 to 8 months, and they'll get their iPad and pull it up close to their face, and I'll talk to them, and I'll communicate with friends from high school and pickleball friends or whoever. And I think we're just so blessed to have the technology. But like you said, every once and again, there's a bit of a snag.
Of course. I always try to just stay positive through any kind of technical difficulties, and I know the viewers do as well. Over the 3 years that I've been doing this, inevitably there's going to be something that happens. Either the connection goes out for a second or like we had a little snag right there. But the truth is, we're here tonight to jump right into this. And the first thing we got to discuss and talk about is right here on the screen. It says Joe Tony in yellow and gold. But right behind you over looks like your left shoulder is a name called Williamson. So tell us about that.
So it's funny. I think I was just chatting with a friend about this the other day. I like to think that I have many characters, and maybe you've seen it via the videos and whatnot. But when I became a teacher, one of the things that they really advocate for you to do is to privatize your social media. Because let's just say there's a picture of you that maybe you don't want your kids to find you. And for those of us out there that know kids or have kids, kids are tech savvy. They have a way of finding stuff out even when you don't want. So when I started teaching, I changed my Facebook name to Joe Tony. Tony is my middle name. It's Anthony. And it kind of just stuck. So like even my friends, they think my name is spelled J-O for Joe, but my full name is Joseph and I go by Joe. And then even like pickleball friends, they'll be like, one of my friends out in Washington, Bird Penny, every time he sees me, he goes, Joe Tony. And I'm like, hey man, yeah, how's it going? But yeah, my last name is Williamson. It is not Tony at all. And it's also weird because my Instagram handle and my TikTok handle don't have my name in them. They're both like the hip teacher or the
The
hippest
hippest.
teacher.
The
Yeah,
hippest.
just because I'm trying, to have limited student involvement on those platforms.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and you're smart for doing that. I know several teachers that do the same thing. They change up something in their name or what have you. But I just thought it was cool for you to put Joe Tony on your name for the actual interview because that's
Yeah,
how the viewers, that's how they know you, right? They know you
yeah,
as Joe Tony, the guy who creates epic, just soulful characters on a video game platform. So no,
yeah.
and we're gonna get into that in a second because that's honestly what spurred this. Not to say that I wouldn't have got Joe Williamson, the
I
5.0
mean,
pickleball player, on at some point.
it
But
would have been a stretch. It would have been a stretch.
I mean, sometimes you got to take what you can get, right, Joe? Like your
Absolutely.
name just got blasted out there, full steam ahead,
Yeah.
and it's because you came up with a very creative idea. So you know what? I was gonna wait till a little later to talk about it, but let's just get right into that part of it. Break down what your inspiration was for these videos that you just came out with.
Um, yeah, I was just thinking just before this, the question, I'll answer it. I was just thinking, like, I remember at tournaments, like my name will get called like Williamson, Wilmanson, that guy. So no one really like has a cohesiveness to my name. So, if people see me and they want to call me Joe Tony, feel free. I probably doubled the amount of Facebook friends in the last, 4 or 5 days because of these videos. And I don't think that they'll know me as Williamson. So I'm gonna embrace Joe Tony. Um, but yeah, in terms of the videos, like I kind of grew up playing not all the video games, but playing some video games. So like EA Sports were huge. Like playing Madden NFL or NHL or MLB 2K, like those sports games. And one of the best parts about those games was always creating characters. And I think like creating the character, my brother and I would always like add traits, and sometimes we would make ourselves, and sometimes we would make somebody random, and it just kind of was fun. It was creative, right? It's a little bit of an outlet when you're a teenager, and I never really thought anything of it. And then I got TikTok right around when this quarantine started, because I don't know, like my kids have been hyping it up in my school for like weeks, and they were like, "Man, you could probably go famous on this. Like, you're a charismatic teacher. Like, you have like tattoos, you have fashion. Like, you're the guy. You do live in a small town, and people aren't going to know you, but you might work." And so I was just scrolling through it, and I saw a video of like somebody doing quarantine characters, and it was like the soundtrack, and the characters were like snacking or watching a movie or whatever, right? And so I was just kind of saying to myself, like, wouldn't it be cool if I did something like this for pickleball? Because other than maybe like Leo Waters and Dane Gingrich, like there's not very many of us on TikTok. So I was like, let's connect this to the pickleball world and let's just like see what happens. So I was just sitting at home one day and I was like, okay, I'm sponsored by PB Sport, which is a Canadian pickleball company, and Selkirk, and so is Riley Newman. So let me just pretend to be Riley, who's a good friend of mine. And then I was like, okay, like I know Tyler, like I have a polo. I don't really know Kyle, but like I know he always does that. And I just had fun with it. And then I was like, okay, I can pretend to be these characters. But what I can also do is I can like get in some subtle like chirps, like some jabs, just to like humanize these guys. Cause I think sometimes, we put professional athletes on a pedestal. And I was like, let's humanize them a bit. Let's like add some jokes. So for like Tyson, I said I'm making babies because he just got his wife pregnant. Congratulations again. And the idea just kind of took on a life of its own. And I posted it like out of left field, like with no anticipation about it. And it has like 300 likes, like 40 shares on Facebook, and like here we are. So yeah, that's kind of all I'll say about that.
Well, and trust me, it will grow a lot more than what it already has. We're just in the baby stages of the growth that your videos are going to see. I think it's really catching on quickly. It's catching fire, and your range for those videos of people that watch are anywhere from the juniors in pickleball, probably 9, 10, 11 years old, all the way up to I dare say 100-year-old pickleball player. Like if anybody watches pickleball,
Yeah.
You've seen these names out there, right?
Yeah.
The
Well,
Kyle Yates, the Rileys.
what's funny too is like, so I'll share these to like my Instagram account because sometimes I have people on Instagram that maybe I don't have on Facebook, right? So I'll share them to Instagram, and like a couple of my buddies will like comment, be like, "Man, these are hilarious," but I have no idea who these guys are. But they love the content, right? So yeah, I'm accessing the pickleball platform in these videos, but just like people in general and bringing some awareness to the sport, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely. All right. So some detailed follow-up questions to the characters.
Let's do it.
Obviously, it's a process to make these. You don't just put
Yeah,
it together in 2 minutes. So what's the process of you going through? Let's take Riley Newman since he was the first one that you did.
sure.
Take everybody through that process of what it takes to create this and how long.
Well, yeah. So I think like first of all, I'm not Riley Newman. Riley's a tall man. He's got some nice blonde hair, blue eyes, those European roots, and he's got a lot of sisters, and I don't. And so I had to really get creative. But what I did was I kind of just sat down and said, okay, like what do I have that Riley has? And again, like I have the Selkirk and PB Sports shirt, so that was one. I got white shorts, which she loves, and I don't have a knee brace, so spoiler alert, what I did was I took a tennis elbow brace and I just yeah, man, and I just put it on my knee because I was like, you know what, like it's half butt or half ass, whatever, but like this is funny, so let's just see what happens. And then I put the hat backwards, and I not gonna lie, I looked up the film. Like I've played Riley and I've watched him on film before. I was like, let's see like what he's known to do. And what I've known is like when he's up at the net, like just before us, right when he returns the serve or his partner returns the serve, he's got that paddle like locked in right at his chest, and he's bouncing up and down because he covers so much court. And I was just like, all right, let's just see what happens. And when you introduce a character into a video game, they're always like kind of bouncing back and forth, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I didn't want to do like anything like huge. Like I didn't want to like make my arms 8 feet long or anything like that. I wanted to be subtle and kind of focus on the outfit. And I thought that by doing that, I could like make those bios that I have, the sponsors and the skills, quite funny, right? And so what I did was once I have the outfit, I kind of like have a little video camera set up that I record things on. And it takes me a couple takes because I play the music in the background, and then I kind of go through the motions and whatever. And I'm kind of literally just looking in the camera doing this for like 25 seconds. And then once I've done that, I upload my videos obviously to TikTok, and then I use the editing app or the editing tools that they have there to kind of cut it and splice it. The hardest part is honestly is the write-ups, in my opinion,
Yes.
because I first of all need to know who they're sponsored by, and again, because I know like Riley and Tyson and Tyler and these guys, like I'm familiar with their sponsors. But like when I did Altaf today, I've never met the guy, so I had to like I messaged Kyle Solenko, and I was just like, hey man, like I know you're friends with him, like is he just sponsored by Onyx? And he was like, yeah, he is. But I come up with those, and I don't want to just like lay out the sponsors because I don't think there's a lot of humor in that. I kind of want to like lay out the sponsor and then twist it. So like for Riley, like I put knee brace. Like this guy's like 20, 26 years old. For Kyle, I put like I think jigsaw puzzles or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I just want to have fun with it. And then my favorite part personally is the skills, because I think the skills, like again, this is once I like shoot the videos themselves, like shooting them probably takes like, I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes and
Yeah.
preparing the outfits. But like once I sit down and like actually start cutting it, it takes like probably like an hour to like think of everything and then write it down and the timing.
I
But like
love it.
the skills are the bread and butter, because like Joey Farias today was like playing with Kyle Yates was one of his skills. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just like, it's just
The,
fun. Like it,
yes. For anybody that's immersed in pickleball and knows those little nuances, the skills part of it is really where the humor is set apart because um,
absolutely.
you obviously pay detail attention to things. You're a detail guy. So you
Yeah,
for each character you went after some little, yeah, I don't want to call them jabs because they're really just in good humor, but they are
yeah,
sort of jabs in a way. Like you did my character and some of my stuff had nothing. I was telling Sarah when we watched it. By the way, I had no idea you were going to do me as a character. So when
yeah,
I watched it, when the video got released, I was just as shocked as anybody. Like, oh, there I am. And
yeah.
watching the video with the skills part, it had nothing to do with my actual pickleball skills, which is
That's it,
hilarious.
right?
It's hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I
Like
love.
if I know the player, like what I'll do is I will like add in a skill that I know they have, right? Like Riley's is like the two-handed backhand. Tyson's is the serve. Morgan's is like the serve. Kyle's is like that nice forehand topspin drop shot that he hits, like that is
Yep.
just perfect, right?
Yep.
Like perfectly spaced. Tyler's obviously the Ernie. So for like the pickleball people, like I'll throw that in there. And that's obviously for the guys because I want them to know that like I know that they have skills,
Yeah.
right? Like we
It's
we,
their
we know this.
signature. Yeah.
It's their signature, right? But I also want to like humanize them and have some fun with it and like let them have some fun with it. Because if I just wrote down like all the skills that like people had, like if I just wrote down for Ben Johns, good forehand, good backhand,
Right.
great volleys, really good at occupying the court, great at winning. Like there's no fun in that. But if I can say winning, making money, beating my brother all the time, then like at least there's a little bit of humor in that, right? So like it just adds something, I think, another level.
Yes, and guys, listen to me. If you haven't watched these videos closely, go back and watch all these videos very closely. The one for Ben Johns, he went above and beyond. He did a little infinitely, like it looks like a sideways figure eight. He did an infinite side
Here,
on
I
the
got it.
check.
I got it right now.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
Let me show you this check that Ben Johns won. He the date is, what is the date? The date is every tournament he makes a million infinite dollars. All the money, winning
Winning
everything.
everything.
Everyone on tour signed it. Like,
Right.
it's
Because
just
we all, if you ever have played in a pro event and paid $100 to sign up for it, you're donating that to Ben Johnson, whoever his partner is. Like it's funny. It's funny,
yeah.
man.
That's that. Yeah, man. That's all it is, right? Like I've never met Ben Johns ever. Actually, no, that's a lie. I met him in Oregon in my first pro tournament, and we had like a brief conversation. Like he was probably set 18 or 19, like just starting, but like I don't know the guy really. So for me to like access his character and have some fun with it is just really what it's all about. Like it started as like a little bit of an inside joke with like Riley and Tyler and these guys that I'm friends with, and it just evolved into something that I didn't even anticipate at all,
I
which is
love it, man.
awesome. Yeah.
And that's when the best things are created on social media. I found that it comes from a place of wholesomeness and just a place of like being genuine and authentic with it. Like you weren't trying to become something that you're not. You were just taking you and your personality and then putting a spin on these videos in your unique and only way. And I truly believe that other people could have done something similar to this, but because of like your look and your personality and the way you go about doing stuff, I feel like you really put like your signature. So if anybody tries to do this as like a replica after, we're all gonna be like, boo, like it's not Joe Tony. Like you're just a knockoff brand of Joe Tony's videos. Like,
Wow.
you know
I
what I'm saying?
appreciate that, man. Like I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I think like just me as a person, like I'm relatively charismatic. Like I'm pretty self-aware in what I can do. Like, it's funny. Like I make, even before I was doing these videos, I think you saw one on Facebook actually. I think this is when you agreed to interview me, you like commented, dude, like you're so perfect at this. I was doing these, for anyone that doesn't know, I was doing these like self interviews with myself
Yeah.
about online teaching because like coronavirus, so we're teaching online right now, and we miss our kids, so I was creating these videos as a way to like engage my humor into the classroom so I could show these kids. And I think that like that's the real thing that makes me a good teacher, if I can call myself a good teacher, is that I'm funny, or I like to have a good time with myself. Like overall, like I'm super laid back and love joking and love having a good time. And I think that like that aspect of myself will transcend to whatever I do. So if it's making videos on my own, it's making videos. If it's on a pickleball court, like when I'm not, fired up or whatever, I'm smiling, like I'm having a good time. And I think that's just, I really appreciate you saying that. Like I really do.
I mean it, man. When I watched it and I just saw your personality come shine through while you were recreating the pros in our sport, like nobody. I mean, I'm gonna give you a compliment that nobody else can take, and that is that you came up with something very unique and creative for the pickleball world during a quarantine time where everybody's basically got more downtime and spare time than
Hmm.
they ever have, and you capitalized on an opportunity not because you wanted fame and fortune out of it, but because I think you saw a bit of humor, right, in this time where you could make some people laugh, and especially the pros. I think
Yeah.
you made them laugh.
And honestly, man, like that's it, right? Like I didn't do these for myself. Like I don't I like to think that I'm not selfish. Like I don't do things for clout or for glory or for anything really. Like I coach for the kids. I teach for the kids. Like none of this is for myself, right? And when I saw the video and I was like, even like I made one for my friends also, like totally separate of this. But again, that wasn't for me. That was because they were like, man, like let's have that memory. So I made it for them. And for the pickleball community, it's like, people share stuff on the forum, like to the point where like honestly, like a lot of it feels the same to me. Like just because it's like advertising this club or this tournament. And there's some unique stuff, like whatever, when you post stuff, when Glenn posts stuff, like what Jordan posted the other day with the pickleball challenge, like that's awesome. Like that's great content. And I think like if I'm able to do something different, but most importantly, do something that will bring people like joy, like you said, it's such a hard time right now. Like how often can you just sit in front of your TV and watch Netflix for like 7 hours?
Whew.
Like it's gonna get old real quick. So like, taking a break and like watching one of my videos for like whatever, like the 20 seconds that it is, probably is gonna put a smile on your face. And hopefully is gonna put a smile on the pro's face that I'm impersonating, because it's just different and it's fun. And I think it couldn't have come at a better time.
I'm telling you right now, if anybody is like me, which I know I'm not alone in this, I've watched those videos at least 25 times each, just replay, because you watch the little things and then you read the skills and the way you do it. And me being the type of person that I am and the social media presence that I try to have, I can really truly appreciate what you did for the pickleball community, because I spend a lot of time, and trust me, my girlfriend Sarah, who we're recently dating, she's
She didn't sign
starting to
up for
get, well, yeah,
that.
I don't know that she knew what she was getting into. Like I spend a lot of time investing in the pickleball community, and I get a lot of flack. I mean, Glenn Lucy is I would say like my biggest kryptonite in pickleball, but he's also a good friend of mine, and we go back and forth. But for you to create what you did, I'm telling you, man, I'm not just saying this on live camera. I would tell you off the camera when it's not rolling. You created something very special for the pickleball community, and it's gonna transcend through this period of quarantine. It's gonna these videos. I'm telling you, my grandkids are gonna be watching Joe Tony's TikTok videos 20 years from now, because they're timeless, right? They're timeless. Like
Yeah.
listen, the great thing about pickleball, and you'll agree with me on this, our pros are super accessible. They're super
Yeah.
down to earth. They're not pros in pickleball because they want to make 3 million or 5 million or $12 million a
Because they
year right
don't.
now. Because they don't make that. Because honestly, what they do is they put their blood, sweat, and tears out on the court every
Yeah.
time they step out there. And you and I being 5-0 players, we can truly respect the level that these guys that you put out there, excluding my character, because I'm literally
And
just a
and
character.
excluding Glenn Lucy, like we don't want to give him that glory, right?
Yeah. Me and Glenn Lucy don't get any of that glory, but no, truly, like the pro level is such a high level right now in our sport. We talked about it through text.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah.
it is such a high level right now, and so for you to bring a little humor to it, and to kind of, I think you said it best when you said just like bring some humor to the side of the pros that take it so serious. I mean, it's a big deal.
It is like it's funny, like when if I watch like the US Open or Nationals and you watch center court, right? And they have this huge stadium. And by huge, it's huge in pickleball terms, not in tennis terms or football terms. There's not like 20,000 people watching in the stadium. There's probably like 1,000 or 500, but you know, it's a spectacle, right? And when you have an opportunity to either play pro like you and I both have, or watch pro, you know, it's almost like they're in a way in a separate level, which they are skill wise, but also just, you know, personnel wise. You know, they are the title, they're the person that has the premier sponsorship. They're the person that you see on, you know, the television ads,
Yeah.
or Facebook ads. I don't know if we're on TV yet, let's be honest.
Not yet.
But like, but you know, they are people. And I think sometimes in sports, like we see this all the time, athletes are put on these pedestals, right? They are put in these positions that they can no way live up to, right? Take a hockey player, take a basketball player, like take Kobe, right? Like they are above themselves and above the sport. And I think what's so cool about pickleball is that pickleball is a grass level sport right now. You know, it's climbing. It's climbing for sure, and it's going to take over the world. I think everyone who plays pickleball knows that. But these pros are so accessible right now. And I think that like as the sport continues, they might become, you know, less and less accessible. That's just the nature of professional athletics.
It's the
But
nature of the beast. Yeah.
you know, if I can bring some humility and some humor and like just like a personal touch or personal level and relationship to these pros that might in 5 years not answer a Facebook message that I have for them, given that they might not answer it right now, I don't know. I think that says something about our sport and these people in general.
Absolutely. And on a side note, Joe, I knew I was dealing with a big deal, a celebrity here, but I got to tell you, you've got more live viewers currently than Steve Deacon had in his whole
Whoa,
2-hour interview.
let me
So
let me pull this up. Let me pull this up real quick.
you've got more live viewers right now than Steve Deacon had. So I think there's something to be said about that. I love it. You there? Uh-oh. We may have lost Joe for a second here. Okay, guys, I think we may have lost Joe for just a second here. His video looked like it froze up. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. Okay, but in the meantime, while we are waiting on Joe's internet to come back to us, I'm going to go ahead and do the Selkirk paddle giveaway. And I did it kind of last minute because I wasn't sure if I was going to get a sponsor for tonight's event, but with Joe Williamson or Joe Tony, aka Joe Tony, because of the fact that he's sponsored with Selkirk, that right there is enough to get me to reach out to Selkirk, right? And so we got Selkirk and the Canadian Pickleball Series to donate a free Selkirk. Let's see, it's a Selkirk Epic Prime paddle. It's not the Amped series, but it is the Epic Prime. And the way that you are going to be able to win this paddle, this free paddle, it'll be shipped right to your door. It's the first viewer watching live right now, the first viewer to name all the characters that Joe Tony has recreated in his videos. Okay. So it doesn't have to be in the exact order that he revealed the characters, but it just has to have all the characters, including today's reveal of the three today. So from the first one he revealed until the one today, the first viewer to name all of those characters will win the free Selkirk Epic Prime paddle. Okay. We're not sure what color because it's just whatever they've got available, but I think there's 3 or 4 colors available. So you might could get a different one if you had a specific color you wanted, but if not, they'll just send you one of the colors that they have. But let's see. Okay. I think we've got Joe
Sorry
back.
about that. Yeah, man, I don't know.
That's
I
okay,
don't know what
bud.
happened there. I think I tried to go
That's
into
okay.
my computer and pull up the numbers that say that I am more popular than Steve Deacon. And I think when I did that, Steve hacked into my internet and it crashed.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past Steve to do that. And absolutely. No, it actually worked out good, to be honest, because it gave me a quick second to do the paddle giveaway. So we are live right now with the paddle giveaway. And we're going to see the first viewer to name all of Joe Tony's recreated characters. The first to do that is going to win the Selkirk paddle, and so I'm excited to hear about that. Also, on a side note, I normally just put up like valid questions that people have for my guests, but there's one in particular that popped up that's not a question, it's more of a statement, and it's from Lag Aaron, which before you say anything about this, Lag Aaron comes from the Aaron, I believe, is from a skit that Key and Peele do. Yes, I love those guys. So I can already tell you, I don't know this guy, but I already like his sense of humor. So he says, I know Joe. I beat him in spike ball all the time. So talk about that real quick. Talk about that.
It's a lie. So pre-quarantine, one of my buddies, so again, I live in Brooks, and this guy, his name's Aaron. He's actually a police officer in town, and we're good buddies. And he introduced me to spike ball, and I started playing with him. And I don't think he's beaten me all the time. Actually, we've actually partnered up a few times, and we're pretty ruthless. No one can beat us when we partner up. But I like to think that us playing each other head on head, we're probably 50-50. So he's running his mouth right now. He actually lives in my building. He's probably downstairs outside my door, just laughing his butt off right now, saying, "Hey, I'm on the live feed and I chirped you." But we're gonna have to settle this, Aaron. If you're watching this sometime soon, as long as we're 2 meters apart, or when COVID is all done, I'll go out there and I'll spank you pretty good, buddy.
Oh, I love it. I love the response to the trash talk from Aaron. So I love it. All right. And Sean Rodrigo has a good question going back to the characters. Will you be doing the girls? Let's touch on that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should change the lingo rather than doing the girls. I think I should be impersonating the girls. But Sean, thank you so much for your question. I love it. You know what? I don't want to give away too many secrets. I think part of the appeal of these videos is that no one has any idea. Like I haven't even told you really. Like I tell you on the release day, I'm like, hey man, I'm just gonna post my video, check it out. Like you have no idea. My friends have no idea. I don't send them to anybody ahead of time. So you know what? I'll definitely say it's in the pipeline. But I am not a drama teacher, so I don't just have props lying around everywhere that I can use to kind of make my hair grow longer exponentially. And I don't have skirts, but I will say it's in the pipeline, and it is something that I'm looking to do moving forward. But I can't give any more than that at this point. I don't want to give away too many secrets,
I love it. You got to keep people on their toes, Joe. And also talk about when you created these characters, what was your favorite one so far to date that you did? Which one would you say stands out the most to you?
It's weird. For me, it doesn't really matter. I just love the perception and the how the audience and my friends and stuff feel about the characters. So I have friends or people that I know that their favorite character is like Tyler Loom, right? Because it's so spot on. And he's got nice hair. I have longer hair. And maybe some other people said that their favorite was like Kyle Yates. What's another one? Some people said, actually, all of Riley's sisters said that I nailed his character. So shout out to the Newman family. Who else? Honestly, some people really liked when I did Matt Wright. The person who took the most effort was actually Joey Farias. So I'll say that one first. And the reason being is because he has a gearbox paddle. Now, I am sponsored by Selkirk. So I don't have any gearbox paddles. I don't have any Onyx paddles or anything. But I had a box in my house, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna pretend like this is my gearbox paddle. And then he's got the ferocious mustache. Him and Tyson McGuffin are competing for best mustache on tour. And so I actually took a whiteboard marker and I kind of colored it in a bit. So I would say he was my most challenging one. The one that it's so hard, man. The one that I'm probably most proud of, man, that's, I think I really like the Zane character that I did today. I really like the Zane character.
That one was my favorite. I was going to tell you.
I think it's underrated because people who know Zane obviously know that I think skill wise, like he's a top 10 player, no questions asked. Like he is phenomenal as a player. Like his hands are incredible. But what people don't know about Zane is that he changes his paddle maybe like every 5 seconds. So I don't know if the people caught this, but when I'm actually cutting and moving, which he does a lot, like moves really quickly, I actually drop a paddle and I bring a different paddle across the camera. I don't know if people caught that. And also, like one time I watched him play the whole Vegas tournament, he played with headphones, so I had to throw those in there. So
Yeah,
I think the
yeah,
most like fun that I had was making his character, and the most challenging one was Joey. Like they're becoming harder, they're becoming more challenging because some of these guys might not be as their name might not be as out there as like a Tyler or a Riley or a
right.
Kyle or a Tyson, right? So I have to really like get more creative as I kind of go down the depth chart.
You know what's funny to me is that I study film. I'm always on social media. I'm always doing live films. I'm a pro commentator for the sport, so I get to watch these pro players, and I can tell you, if you popped up a video, like just if I'm on the laptop watching something with you, and you pop up a video of pro players, I can pretty much spot all the pro players because they all have unique and very different characteristics, right? Like a Tyson
Yeah.
McGuffin, it should take you all of 2 seconds to recognize Tyson. Kyle Yates, same. He has a walk. He has the way he goes about himself, the way he hits his shot. Riley Newman, same thing. All the characters that you've done, Althoff, all these guys, right? But
Yeah.
it never fails to amaze me how many people watch pickleball videos and they're like, who is that guy? And it's like a Tyson McGuffin or something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how can you not recognize these guys? They all, because that's why I think I love what you did so much, because I spot the same little nuances, like the thing with Zane with the earphones. I've watched him do that too. The way he switches paddles, he'll switch paddles between points sometimes. Like it's ridiculous, right? So like
Yeah.
just the Althoff thing, looking like a dad. He always tucks his shirt in, always
It's
has a
crazy.
collared shirt.
Yeah.
Matt Wright stands very upright when he plays, right? Chest out upright. Ben Johns, is the way you portrayed him.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, anybody that's watched pickleball in the last year has seen Ben Johns win every single division that he's ever played in. Like I don't remember the last time he didn't win. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't actually off the top of my head remember either. It might have been at the US Open when Tyson got him in singles. Might have been then.
I think
Because I
so.
remember
I
because
think
I think
so.
Tyson, that was when I think Tyson's dad, it was like a anniversary from when his dad was passing and he was growing up the mustache. And that's what stands out to me is like and that was, I think, right when Ben got his trademark paddle. So it may have been the first tournament that he was playing with that paddle. And then obviously once he adjusted to it, gold, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. I think what's really cool about the video, Scott, is that I think someone who's a beginner player could look at these videos and be like, oh, like I've seen those names before. Someone who's like a player who's been to a tournament that has seen these guys have been like, oh, like I kind of recognize that.
Right.
Someone who's a pro would be like, oh yeah, he nailed that. And someone who's like a friend of them or a pro or someone like you on tour, like you're like, oh man, these skills are like freaking on point, like a
They're
hundred
all
percent, right? Like Kyle Yates, his number one skill is like surfing. Like how many people know that about Kyle? Well, I have Kyle on Instagram. What does Kyle do every day? He posts a video of himself surfing,
okay. I think we
right?
might
Like,
have lost Joe again.
oh,
You know what? This is funny that we were laughing about this earlier because
can
what
you hear? Can you see
happens
me?
is technology is great, but sometimes it can hurt us. But let me see. I think we got him back. All right, Joe, did we get you back?
Hey, yeah, man. Yeah, I just cut out for a second. Sorry.
Man, I don't know. This is funny to me because we just had that conversation, and it's funny that it did cut out a couple times there. But the good thing is you're coming right back, so that's good. We didn't lose you
Yeah,
permanently.
that's
But
good.
also, I think we've got a winner, by the way. So these are
What?
opportunities for me to jump on this. It looks like Maggie Courtade, who is a big fan
Okay.
apparently of you and I. Maggie said
Huge.
she was the first one to respond. Now we need to verify. So if you could grab your list real quick. Do you have your list that you can grab?
I think I remember it. I'll name it off the cuff.
All right. If you can name it off the cuff, or let me
Yeah,
see.
man.
I've got the list pulled up right
You
here
got
on
the
my
list?
phone.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
cool.
Let's see if she nailed this. All right.
All right.
And I want you to follow along. We've got
Yeah, we're good.
all right. We've got Riley Newman.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Yates,
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Loong,
Mm-hmm.
Tyson McGuffin,
Yep.
Altoff Merchant,
Yep.
Joey Farias.
Yep.
We've got Zane Affleck,
Yep.
Morgan Evans,
Yep.
Scott
What are we at
Golden,
right now? Yeah, these are all right.
okay, Matt Wright,
Yep.
Steve Deacon, Glenn Lucy,
Yep.
Dave Weinbach,
Yep.
and Ben Johns.
Yeah.
Is that the
Is that 14? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. She got it.
boom?
Yep.
Okay, so we have our official winner. Quick draw McGraw, Maggie Cortade. Maggie, thank you for playing the trivia there. I gotta tell you, she was quick on the answer, man. She was faster than anybody else.
She's probably watched them a few times for sure.
I think so, man. It's even possible she had written them down just to have
Just
the,
because
the
she knew.
reference.
Just because
Yeah,
she knew.
I love it. Let's see. Stan McShinsky looks like he was the second runner-up. I'm not even going to name all his, but it looks like Maggie is our winner. I don't see.
Woo!
Hold on. Let's see. It looks like Gene Click answered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, I made a mistake. I passed over Maggie. I would like to apologize. Maybe on
Oh.
behalf of Selkirk, we could get them to send Maggie a paddle as well. I may be paying out of pocket for this one. It looks like Gene Click, actually, I somehow missed his comment. He
Oh
actually
no.
nailed all 14
Before Maggie?
just prior. Yeah.
That's
My
tough.
bad. My bad. I
Well, good
apologize.
job for everyone that commented and actually got it. That's unreal. And on behalf of our Selkirk sponsor that's sponsoring this podcast and the Canadian Pickleball Series, which is something that we're starting right now. It's kind of like the American professional pickleball tournaments that you guys have going on. We're kind of doing our own thing. And my buddy Ryan Haynes is the tournament series director, and
Love
he's going to
Ryan
be
Haynes.
donating. Yeah, he's a great guy, right? And he's going to be donating that paddle on behalf of the series and that. So congratulations to Gene for
Yeah,
winning,
Gene
and
Click. Gene Click.
thanks Maggie for being a huge fan. That's unreal.
Yeah, and I may just have to buy a Selkirk
You
Epic
may
Prime and Selkirk Prime paddle and send it to her.
just don't tell Monarch. Just say you're doing
Yeah.
it for social media purposes.
Unfortunately, they're watching this live stream, so they've already seen that I screwed that up. All right, we're gonna
Okay,
switch
well,
gears a little bit. You've
yeah,
got my girlfriend Sarah Marr, who always asks great questions on these live feeds. She said,
awesome.
"What subject do you teach, Joe?" And she's referring to your
Yeah.
professional career.
So I by trade am a high school chemistry and math teacher. So right now I teach, I was telling Scott earlier via text, I teach 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. I'm pretty sure the American and Canadian education systems are aligned. So that would be like grade 10, 11, and 12. And I teach, senior high math and chemistry. So currently I'm teaching grade 11 chemistry, grade 12 chemistry, grade 12 high achieving math, like we call it -1. It's like your academic stream. And then I've also taught science in grade 9 before and a couple other things. But yeah, by trade I am a chemistry and math teacher. And let's show this tattoo off. So I got a
Boom.
chemistry tattoo here, and I got another chemistry tattoo here. So yeah, man, just
That's
living the
awesome.
dream. Yeah, man.
And so my question, because you just threw up your tattoos, I mean, is there ever been any thought process to having a pickleball tattoo put on your body?
You know what? You know what's funny? Steve Deacon has given me a pickleball tattoo, for sure. When we played, I remember I think it was somewhere right around here. And since that moment, I swore off getting a pickleball tattoo. No, I'm joking. You know what? I have always thought about like getting like like a little pickleball or something like that somewhere on my arm, but I feel like it wouldn't do it justice, right? Like I don't think it would come across like have like the vision that I have for what I would want it to represent and look. I don't think it would come across as artistically as something else. So
Right.
I'm gonna keep pickleball off the body. If someone's playing me and you want to, try to hit my body, I'll try to go Rob Cassidy on you and deflect like a ninja and prevent that from happening. But in the meantime, yeah, no pickleball tattoos. Most of my tattoos are traveling themed. So I got like a sunset with a plane. I've got a lightning bolt from when I went to Greece. I've got this one. This one's kind of fun. They got like a Spider-Man tattoo from New York
Oh,
City.
cool.
So
That's awesome, man.
I'm trying to have the second nicest tattoo sleeve in pickleball behind Tyson McGuffin. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
want my name to be, right? I
I
want people to be
love
like,
it.
"Hey, are you Tyson McGuffin?" I'll be like, "No. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sponsored by Selkirk. Yes, I have a crazy mustache at times, and yes, I have nice tattoos. But no, I don't have the shortest shorts. I'm sorry."
I love it. I love it. And just for anybody watching, just Golden Boy's tip of the day. I don't care how much you love your sponsor or how much you love playing with a certain brand of paddle. Do not tattoo Paddle Tech or Selkirk or Monarch all over your body, because I promise you, in life things can change, and so
For
do
sure,
not do that. But
it's a
I'm just
great
kidding.
tip.
If anybody's ever done that, I don't mean that as a dig towards you if you have that tattooed on you already. But
Yeah, if you have that, take a picture of it and share it in this live video. Let's see what's
absolutely.
up.
If somebody's got a tattoo of their favorite paddle brand, or if they are sponsored by them, I would say
Send them
go
in
ahead and show that. That's epic. So, all right,
for sure.
next question comes from Steve Deacon's beautiful and amazing wife,
Oh
Stacy,
gosh,
who pretty
Stacy.
much runs all of his social media
No, she does.
platforms.
Like Steve does not know how to operate Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. He texts, he blows up the font because he's got cataracts, I think. So he has a really hard time operating his technology. So Stacy literally holds his hand through everything. So Stacy, first of all, God bless you. Without you, we would not have Steve Deacon. So
That's
thank you
right.
so much.
Nobody
That's
would
right.
know about Steve Deacon.
Literally nobody, right? And to answer your question, when I was in my first year teaching, I definitely I hadn't really learned how to maybe carry myself in the most like it was a balance, right? Like every career is a balance, and teaching is a balance between carrying yourself professionally and being approachable to the kids and having them understand you and respect you not only as a teacher but as an adult in the room, right? And when I started teaching, I was 22 years old. Like that, I literally was 22 in my first job in the classroom, and I was super nervous. And I definitely have an edgy personality at times. Like just my social dynamic is kind of out there, and I think I probably ruffled some feathers in my first year. And some students were kind of like, "Oh, this guy is kind of he's just not really, he's not nice all the time, or he's trying to make too many jokes, or maybe." Um, but I definitely think that now I'm in my third year. Some of those students I had in grade 9, and they've definitely come up to me and have said, "You're awesome." This in their grade 11 and 12 years this year and last year. So, I think like everything, it's a journey. And even if maybe a kid doesn't like you at a time, if you make time for that kid and you take time, like time heals all wounds kind of thing, if you take some time and you just work with that kid and just be authentic, like be yourself, um, they might come to like you. But I think another really interesting point, Stacey, is that I think we can't go through life expecting everyone to like us, right? Like I think on social media we blow ourselves up to like be something crazy, and I think in life like we're people pleasers. Like we just want people to be happy, but I truly like I cannot live my life like that. I want to be around people that appreciate me for who I am. My family, my close friends, they value me, they value what I have to offer. And I don't need to spend time with people trying to make them like me. If they like me in time by me being myself, that's amazing. And if they don't, like, we'll get through it, and I'll hope that in time maybe they come around, or maybe I come around.
Man, that's a great answer to that question. And I didn't know if that was a loaded question. Like, I didn't know if Stacy knew about like an incident where like a student
No.
like tried to punch you in the face or something. But that's a great question by Stacy, and I really appreciate her insight to ask that. Because just in my brief time knowing you, which has like been of the last like hour, you seem
Minus
like a
interruptions. Yeah.
right, minus the freezing, but just that you're very authentic, you're very real, and I can tell you, if I was a student in your class, I think having somebody young and relatable that can kind of be up to date on like the terms
The
of
trends,
the 20,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the trends, like that stuff that's crucial to being, I think, a good teacher in 2020, you know?
Yeah, I think you know what? I think again, you can't fake it, right? Like you can't not be authentic. Like for example, like if you are like 45, 50 years old and you've been teaching for, 20 years or 15 years and you can't keep up with the stuff that's going on right now, like maybe you just have a Facebook account and you still are struggling with that. Like don't be someone that you're not. Like live in who you are, live in your own skin, be authentic, and people will respect that, right? Like not every teacher at our school has TikTok or Instagram or, relates to the kids on that level. I think it makes me super approachable to these kids and really helps our relationships, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think the necessity, like you said, is just being who you are, right? And if you are who you are and truly authentic, people are going to respond to that and people are going to respect that. Doesn't matter if you're a teacher, if you are an accountant, it doesn't matter if you are a professional pickleball player, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you do it as who you are and what you believe, people are going to respond to that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that, Joe. And I think you and I are probably kindred spirits because for the last 3 years inside the pickleball community, all I've ever tried to do is build an authentic representation of myself and who I am. You know, social media is nothing more than an extension, or I should say, it shouldn't be any more of than an
Yeah,
extension of who you are as a person. And yes, sometimes things can get heated through text. I think sometimes when you have an issue with somebody, the best thing that you can do is give them a call on the phone. And even
absolutely.
more, do a video chat because you can see their
Yeah,
face, their expression. And instead of, and look, we're getting a little deep here, but you know what? This is the way the conversation's kind of gone.
it's going.
Stacy definitely brought this out
She
in us
knew.
right now.
She
She
knew.
knew. But you know, I've found that sometimes I can get a little bit heated online through text. And mainly what happens is miscommunication and misunderstanding is all that ends up coming of that. And I'll sometimes reach out to that person outside of the public forums and just say, listen, I think, you know, I've calmed down, things have settled down. I think what we need to do is have a phone call or have a video chat conversation so that we can get on the same page. Because most of the time, whether it be any relationship, marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend, or a pickleball partner, or just somebody on the forum that you misunderstand or whatever, it can a lot of times be fixed or corrected just by having a simple conversation. And most
Hmm.
people are reasonable. Wouldn't you agree that most people are reasonable
Yeah,
people?
yeah, and I think like yeah, most people are reasonable people, obviously. But I think the biggest thing is like you said, like when we're on social media, we use emojis and stuff to like kind of imitate tone because like you said, it's just words, right? But what we were teaching our kids this year actually is what are you saying? Like what are the words saying to you as a person when you are engaging in a only text conversation, which is so much of our communication now, right? Texting or Facebook Messenger or whatever, right? It's just words. How much of the conversation, when you communicate with someone, how much of successful communication is words? I think it was like 7%. So if you are trying to communicate with someone with 7% of what is a successful communication, then you're going to fail most of the time or often. And I think, like you said, that's where the tone comes out, where you can't interpret what they're saying, right? How many times do we get emails, I'm sure, whether it's for your pickleball productions or me, like staff emails or from work previously or when I was in university or whatever, where you just have no idea like what state they're in, right? Like maybe they just had a really long day at work and it's like 5 o'clock and they just send an email that has all of their anger and I get it and I'm like completely put off. But what if I talk to them tomorrow morning at 9:30 and we have a like an actual person to person conversation? And I think technology, like you said, is such a great extension. Like we're doing this right now, right? Because of technology. And I'm able to FaceTime my parents and my friends. And, we're able to communicate with this global community of people, right? Because of technology. But I still think that we have to remember that when the world kind of gets back to the way that it is in some way, post COVID, we make efforts to like video chat with people, have person to person conversations, right? Give people a hug, like just love your friends, love your family, and don't just like send that text with the letter K. You know, like I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this is getting deep. But like, my
Yeah.
mom will send me like an essay. She's watching right now. Hey, mom, my mom is sending me like an essay long text about COVID preventions because she's a nurse,
Yeah.
and I read about the first two sentences, and once I get to about sentence 12, I kind of zone out a bit. Sorry, mom, and I just send K, and it's like if she's on the phone, if I like am listening to her or video chatting her, I'm engaged in that conversation. I'm gonna say, hey, mom, thanks so much. Like, I love you. I really appreciate that.
That's right.
You know, so I think we gotta remember that when we're communicating with people, not just to do it with words, because it leads to so many challenges. Like, whenever you can, make sure to reach out to people, video chat, or whatever the case is. And I think that that's crucial.
It's crucial. And listen, right now, because COVID-19 is in effect, we have to do a lot of stuff more virtual. But if you have the ability to go see your parents or your siblings or your best friends in person, man, there's nothing better than spending time with people. Relationships.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, Joe. I mean, we got real deep real quick. It went from funny character
It's all right.
videos
It'll
to
it'll it'll circle back around at some
it'll
point.
circle back around. It'll bounce out. But I really truly believe that relationships are the most important thing in life. And it doesn't matter how much money's in your bank account. It doesn't matter how famous you are or how many people like you. What matters is how you treat people, how your relationships reflect back to
Hmm.
people and how they perceive you, right?
Yeah.
If somebody is genuine and authentic, I think that goes so far these days in life. It goes so much further than somebody that just tries to make themselves look like something that they're not. And I'll be honest,
Hmm.
like because I'm so involved in social media stuff, I think I mean, there's many reasons why I do these interviews, but one of the biggest reasons is because I want to bring Joe Tony, a guy who's on a piece of a screen. Yeah, Williamson. I want to bring Joe Williamson to life for people. I
Hmm.
want to bring Scott Golden to life, so that
Yeah.
because people will inevitably people will form an opinion of Joe Williamson or Joe Tony or Scott Golden just strictly based on how they put themselves out there on social media. But when we do these interviews like this right here, they get to see the real Joe. They get to see the
Hmm.
real Scott, right? Like we're bringing
Yeah.
ourselves in a sense of vulnerability, right? We're almost
Yeah.
vulnerable.
We are, and I think that like it's a testament to who we are as individuals, right? Like, and I think like you said, like relationships, and I felt like it was a slight dig at me being single. I'm not gonna get into that. Um, but again, like whether it's a romantic relationship or like a familial relationship with like your parents, or like maybe you're listening to this and you have a sibling that you haven't talked to in 2 months, give them a call. Like what's stopping you? I think like you said, like the value that we put on making ourselves look like something that we're not. I definitely struggle with that personally. Like when I was in university, like I was like doing this fashion show. I was like modeling. I was like taking pictures of myself. I cared about comments. I was refreshing the page, and I was like losing sight of who was around me and like my friends. So when I moved to this small town, like I didn't know anybody. So it wasn't, super hard for me to like forget about the social media stuff because I'm living in a town of very few people and I want to engage with them. And I definitely still post fun Instagram pictures of myself traveling because that's my reality.
Yeah.
But it doesn't but that's not where my life is. That's not where my life stops. That's maybe a glimpse, but like who I am as a person is so much more than that. So, and I think like you said, like we need to make ourselves presentable. That's why teaching is so great, because these kids really see me, right? And I have self-deprecating humor, as I'm sure you've realized in this interview. I love making fun of myself, and I think the kids, like, they see that in me and they just say, okay, this guy's for real. Like, if he can take himself seriously but also like that, then why am I so stressed all the time about things? I think that's huge.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, next question comes from Sam
Oh,
Lazar, and I swear I did not pay her to say this. This is just the next question up. It's kind
she's
of a
not with
question
Monarch, right?
comment. No, she's not with Monarch, and I didn't pay her off.
Okay.
Sam is a person who absolutely loves the pickleball community. Her and her husband Keith. She said, Joe Tony, don't you think Scott would be a great broadcaster announcer for ESPN? His interviews are awesome. I think what she meant was he gets great guests on his show, and that's why he's done such a good job. But
You know what,
that
man?
was her
Like, I
comment.
think, I think like you definitely have like brought who you are into these interviews right? And like I think, you know, the guests that come on are like a reflection that they feel so open to being, you know, talking to you, right? Like I'm sure at the end of this interview I'll be like, man, like that was awesome. Let's stay in touch. Let's grab a beer sometime in the future when we're in the same place. Like it's developing a friendship, I think, which is amazing for me and for you. But I think that's a testament to not only your interview skills, but like how interested you are in what I have to say, right? Like I know so many, like my brother works for TSN. I think I mentioned that to you maybe earlier.
Yep.
TSN, for everyone who's watching in the States, is like the Canadian ESPN. And so he's been involved in media for years and years, and he's done countless interviews. And the amount of times that he's had hard interviews with people that maybe he, you know, didn't have a choice in interviewing or whatever, like I don't really know. And how many times, you know, I've seen just through him and through that community how many people are not engaged in the interviews. You know, it's tough. And,
Yeah.
you know, like I think what you're doing here is really awesome. I think you are interviewing real people who are just happen to love pickleball and play pickleball professionally. And these interviews are unscripted. They are just two people having an awesome conversation. But like you being completely invested in me right now just shows me that like you have tremendous listening and engaging interview skills. And I don't know if you would I don't think I would want to like put you in a box and say, man, you should like be like a scrum interviewer and hold the microphone in somebody's face and
Right.
get 20 seconds of audio out of them. But I could definitely see you being like, I mean, Canada, we have a guy named Cabby who has his own like segments, or we used to. I think he's still on our score, another platform. But I honestly think that like you could like have sit down interviews and do like, you know, ESPN like 30 and 30s or whatever, like for pickleball. Like, you know, you're building yourself up and you're showing how authentic you are in these interviews. And I think that just you being yourself and engaged in us as people who are being interviewed makes us so comfortable around this and makes it super enjoyable for the audience.
Well, I appreciate that, and I didn't pay Joe to say that either. That was off the
Yeah,
cuff for him, but
I have Canadian currency and you have American currency, so there's no way you would pay me. Your
no
dollar's worth
possible way.
way more.
No possible way that would happen. But no, I appreciate those kind words. And listen, I want to be real authentic here and telling everybody that right now at this point, I do not get paid to do these interviews, guys. I take my own time and my resources to do these for you guys, the
Mhm.
pickleball community. I don't want the credit for this stuff. This is about Joe Williamson and AKA Joe Tony, and this is about the
Tony,
pickleball community, right? I'm just the facilitator. But let me tell you something. When like I get to see the time, I think everybody can see it, but I can certainly see it's been 1 hour and 5 minutes and 57 seconds. It, it has flown
flown by.
by. It's
Yeah.
flown by. And the reason it's flown by is because I am so into these like real conversations with you guys. Like I genuinely care about you, Joe. Like I care about
Appreciate that.
what you've got going on, and I don't have to fake it, right? Like if
Yeah.
you don't have to fake something, it becomes something that is just it's me, it's who I am. And when I
Mhm.
get somebody like you on the interview, man, it's dynamite. It's dynamite. And I know you can relate to this because you're a teacher and you've probably given speeches in front of kids and talked in front of kids, and you walk away from
It's
that.
my job.
Right, and you walk away and go like, "Man, I wonder if I made an impact. I wonder if if I was able to do something impactful for them." And then guess what you get in the mail a couple of days later? A thank you letter or a thank you text from somebody, right?
Yeah.
And they appreciate what you did. And that is the validation, right, for me doing this, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up because like as teachers, like I totally understand that, right? But like we can't live for that validation. Like I and we might not because we might not see that validation or that fruit of our labor for years. Right? Like how did I as a student ever tell my high school teachers that they had an impact on me in the moment? No, because I'm a teenager. Right? But when I like sat down and actually processed those feelings and those emotions and like went back to my high school and saw what they were doing just for different kids, I was like, man, like you inspired me to be an educator. And I think that like that those years after, like, you know, things age well. And I think that's one of those things like, you know, I honestly like I've only been teaching for 3 years. I haven't gotten a lot of like texts or emails or whatever, saying that I changed someone's life. And I'm okay with that because that's not why I do it. But when a kid, if they ever do, comes back to me and says, you were the best, or I loved having you as my teacher, or being in your classroom made me feel safe and included and was exactly what I needed, like that's going to warm my heart. We don't do it for those moments, but when those moments come up, they're surreal, right? Because knowing that you had an impact positively on somebody's life is something that you can't measure.
Man, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Sorry, let me put my notes away.
Yeah. I just think that like a guy like you teach for the right reasons. You coach. Listen, I talked to you briefly before about just some of your background, and you're a football coach. You coach badminton, basketball, and football at your high school. And tell everybody how many millions of dollars do they pay Joe
Oh
Williamson?
man, I don't know if you guys could see, but like my house is like Drake's right now. Like I got a pretty ludicrous crib. Um, no, I we don't get any money. I don't know what it's like in the States. I know that they pay some of their coaches because that's their job. They're professionals. But I'm just getting a text, sorry. We are teachers who coach, right? We are not some of us maybe are coaches who teach, but I would say that the two are like they're even, right? Or maybe your passion is in coaching. Shout out my drama teachers, right? For putting on amazing theater productions. They don't get paid, right? Like one shout out to one of the teachers in our school, Stephanie Feller. She spent her whole year doing a drama production and having rehearsals every day, every lunch hour, maybe every day, seemed like it. And they can't perform because of COVID. And that breaks my heart, right? Because that's her niche. Um, but again, like I commend her for doing that. In terms of like coaching me personally, yeah, we get $0 per hour. It's pretty great. There's great benefits. There's none. So it's pretty tough. But yeah, I coach football. I started coaching football in my first year because something that when you're a new teacher, you're trying to impress your superiors, right? And you're trying to make them want to hire you back, right? And make them want to have you as a part of their staff and their family. And so when I came in, I decided to coach, and I have no football experience. I couldn't throw a spiral when I started coaching. It took me a year to throw a
That's
spiral.
awesome. That's
It's
awesome.
yeah, it's hilarious, man. And I knew like I had started watching football in 2009 because of a fantasy football league that I joined. I actually think they're pretty close to. We're doing a simulated game right at 6 p.m. our time. No, 8 p.m. your time. So we got time. Anyway, shout out the Man's League. Love you guys. And so I started watching football just through that, and I became so infatuated with the game and the strategy behind it. So when I started coaching, I just started as a special teams guy, punt, kick return, kick off. And then I slowly evolved because there was only two of us coaching, myself and my friend Steve, not Steve Deacon, my friend Stephen Plush. And in that kind of season, I became the offensive coordinator. And then this guy, Steve, decides to move to Banff, which is beautiful. I don't know if anyone on here has not been to Banff. Add it to the bucket list. You said that you had been, I think.
I've been there. I went there.
Great.
It's amazing, amazing.
Man, it's amazing. And so he moved there and left me on an island, and I became the head coach. So you could say I rose up the ranks pretty quickly. And we led our team, or myself and another coach that I had, led our team to a provincial silver medal. We came second at provincials. But it was just an incredible experience. And now, 3 years into teaching, I'm a football coach, someone who didn't come from a football background, who turns sideways and disappears because I'm so thin, like I got no muscle mass, like and now I'm the head football coach at a school, and it's amazing. I was doing some math, and between football and basketball at the January point, like early into the basketball season, I had probably dedicated more than 150 hours coaching. And
Woo, woo.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Like I would go to school and I would teach, and then I'd have practice, and then I would come home and be too lazy to make dinner because I got home at 7 o'clock. Then I would maybe do some marking. If my kids are watching, they know that that's not happening. Um, And then I'll do that again and again. And it was just every day. But you know what, man? Like, again, we don't get paid, and I don't want to get paid because I don't want to get paid to do something that I necessarily like I love and that I
Yeah.
do out of the kindness of my heart.
Yeah.
Because like if I don't coach, these kids don't play. And that's enough for me. For me, dedicating like my time is a small fraction of whatever these kids need. And if these kids need me to like watch film with them and coach them and just be a mentor for them, like you can't put a price on that. And it allows me to form such phenomenal relationships with these kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of my former students, like I'm his reference. Like I literally get calls like every other week about like his dorm or like a new apartment he's moving into or a new job he's starting. Like, hey, like, can you speak to this kid's credibility? And I'm like, let me tell you,
That's
so
incredible.
it's man, it's such a blessing. It's such a blessing, no matter how hard it is sometimes and how many nights I just come home and fall asleep and I'm tired. Like they make it worth it, and giving them an opportunity and a platform to just succeed and be a part of a team is like something that I cannot put a price on.
I I absolutely agree with you, and I can relate that back to what I do with pickleball, right?
100%.
I think that you just invest in people and good things happen from that. You don't worry about the repercussions or the what's gonna happen as a result. You just do something that you love and
Yeah.
the things that happen as a result of that unfold in front of you because you're just pouring yourself into whatever you're doing. And
Yeah.
that's something in life that I think I don't know, man. Like I hear you talk about your teaching, and as much as you love pickleball, and that's what this interview, should
Yeah.
be about, right? I
Well,
think you're
again, we'll get back to it. We have no time limits. Like it's fine.
right, right. And but the reason I say that is because I feel that you're just as passionate or more passionate about your students and your teaching and your coaching as you are about pickleball, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny, like, you know, when I started playing pickleball, I just did it because it was something that was there, and we can get into that story later. But I'm not a pickleball player who teaches. Like that is not how I would identify myself, right? I am a teacher who just happens to be, 5.0. I call myself semi-pro because I'm not actively on the pro circuit, but I can compete at that level. Who like I'm a teacher who does that for fun. And like I like shout out to Selkirk, PB Sport, Tyrol, my amazing sponsors that have allowed me to be successful on the court and to give me an opportunity and a platform to play this amazing game. But at the same time, like when I go home at the end of the night, I'm not checking the pickleball forum, I'm answering my emails, right? From my kids that are asking me questions about the lesson that we're doing, right? Or it's just like I would definitely say that teaching will always be before. And I had a bit of an identity crisis, Scott, if I'm being honest, because about maybe a year ago, well, not identity crisis. I shouldn't say that. I mean, if you look at my Instagram, I dyed my hair bleach blonde one year. So if you want to go through the archives, have fun. But no, I love pickleball so much. I think like I
I
play
did, by the
tennis
way, do
and
that.
you did? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that that's not the picture you used to promote this interview.
I was going to, but then I was like, I don't know Joe well enough yet to do that.
Oh, I would have loved it. So yeah, like when I start like last year, like I was in love with pickleball. Like I was competing at a high level. I was having so much success on the court, and people always ask the question like, "Oh man, like, are you playing this tournament? Are you playing that tournament? Are you doing this? Are you doing that?" And it kind of got me down a bit because I was not able to do those things. Like I was not able to go to nationals. I am not able to go to the U.S. Open, and kind of bummed me out a bit. So I was like, "Am I doing the right thing? Like, am I putting in like enough time into pickleball? Am I putting too much time into teaching? Like, what's happening, right?" But like I had a bit of a moment of self-realization because I just kind of thought to myself, I was like, I wouldn't be playing pickleball if it wasn't for teaching. But I think I could play, like I could teach and not play pickleball. So I had to find that balance between both. And I came to the realization that I'm a teacher who loves playing pickleball, and like that's good for my mental health. It's good for me. It connects me to people, but I will always be a teacher first. And I think that I have to hold my hat onto that. And that kind of made me feel better about missing out on some of the big tournaments that everyone goes to and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure I don't know if you've actually reached out to Wes Gabrielson, but Wes is a legend in our sport.
Yeah.
A guy who, if you go back to the first YouTube videos that you can find on pickleball, which from my research, I mean, you've got Steve Peranto, who's got videos back in the 70s, but excluding Steve Peranto, who's been playing 30 plus years, you know, I found that average video that was going on, the latest I could find was like 2012, 2013
Yeah.
timeframe. I mean, Wes is at the top of the game even back then, right? He's in
Mm-hmm.
all the big matches back then. So a guy like Wes is, I think, a true testament to why you can hang your hat on being a teacher first and a pickleball pro second, is that
Yeah.
Wes is able to be a rock star, an absolute rock star in our sport, yet he goes to bat every day as a teacher and has a
Yeah.
profession that he has been doing for a long time. Yet okay, so this is what I'm trying to say ultimately. He's missed out on some of the biggest tournaments like the US Open for several years, but he's also made it to say nationals or
Yeah.
some other tournaments that have been able to showcase him and his skills for many, many years. And so I don't think when I hear a guy like you who's a 5.0 and by the way, a damn good player. I mean, I
Thank
just
you.
seeing some of the stuff and hearing about you and your background and stuff. Um, I think you, if you committed yourself to pickleball full time, could be a top 50 player or better, right? I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just guessing,
you're
top
Hey, you're
50 or
ballparking. You're
better.
ballparking. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Right, right. Let's not question it anymore. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you have other obligations or responsibilities in your life, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That's, I think, what
Absolutely.
makes it's what makes pickleball special right now, right?
Yeah.
Will there come a time that maybe in our sport, Joe Williamson will have to make the decision: do I want to pursue pickleball full time as my career, or teaching? Maybe there might be a crossroads, but I hope not, right? Like, I hope
Yeah. I
that you
think
don't ever have to.
I think our sport's pretty accessible, and I think it will be. It's just that pro level, right? That it's that step that people will have to make some decisions about, um, and whatnot. But yeah, like I completely agree. I think we all, even like people who are not teachers, like we all have commitments, right? Like not everyone is a pickleball touring pro. Like in the news and on Facebook and Instagram, we only see the top 20 players, and their life is pickleball, right? Like their life is to travel and honestly, like that's amazing. Yeah, well, you're one of those guys, right? Like you literally traveled all these tournaments, you do commentary, you get interviews, you play, like you present yourself and your brand, right? But there are so many people in our sport who are high level, who are good, but who play pickleball as a secondary to something else, right? So, and I was telling you, like I play pickleball like if I'm lucky, man, like once a month, right? Like just whereas someone like you, someone like obviously like Steve Deacon, keep bringing his name up. He probably plays like every day.
Yeah, Steve clearly plays every day. I mean, look, he couldn't even go through the COVID pandemic without posting a video of him and his dad hitting
I
a
know.
pickleball over the pool.
I know.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
I know. Poor guy.
All right, look, let's rattle through some of these questions. Let's see if we can get through some of these because people are
Yeah,
blowing
man, let's
the
do it.
social media up here. So
Oh,
Maggie,
that's hype.
who by the way, Maggie, I want to once again apologize. I will make sure you get a paddle, a Selkirk paddle. Um, but anyway, Maggie has a question for you, Tony. She said, "Have any of your students tried to emulate your TikTok and create their own TikToks, perhaps using celebrities as their subjects?"
Ooh, that's a good question. So some of my students are definitely on TikTok. They were the ones that kind of got me and said, okay, like I'm gonna do this. But I didn't get TikTok until quarantine happened. So I don't follow any of them. I think maybe some of them follow me, but I don't follow any of them. So I don't really know if they're posting videos pretending to be me. I don't think that they would. If they do, like that's hilarious. But I don't anticipate that happening at any point. Um, but I could definitely see maybe a reality where some of these kids see the videos that I'm making and say, "Oh, I could 100% do that with." I don't know. Some of my kids are super into like K-pop, so I could do like K-pop stars, or they're super into like I don't know, like let's say like Grey's Anatomy. I could do Grey's Anatomy characters. I could see that's within their realm. I don't know how many of them are motivated to do it, and actually post it and take the time to do it. But if any of my students are seeing this right now, like, all the power to you guys. Like, get creative. This is such a fun social media outlet. I completely encourage you to do that.
That's awesome, man. I love it. That's a great question by Maggie. Also, Steve Deacon just sent me a private side text and said,
Uh-oh.
well, it's good. He said, "Can you please let Joe know that Peter Didcock says hello?" So I don't know who Peter Didcock is, but
Do you want the story? Do you want the
yeah.
story?
Oh my God, this is
Oh
what
my
this interview is all
gosh.
about, man. Like, give us the story.
Okay. All right. So, okay, let me get into this. So I started playing. We'll get the backstory, and then I will tell you where Peter Didcock starts. So I started playing pickleball in 2017 in March. One of my buddies, Matt Cussin, kind of just texted me, and we had met through board games. And he texted me and said, "Hey, do you want to play this sport called pickleball?" And I was like, "No, like, that sounds weird." And anyway, he dragged me out, and I went and played and just hit the ball as hard as I could. Everything's going 20 feet out. And I'm playing against old guys, and I'm losing, and I'm getting frustrated. Fast forward a month, 1 month, yes, or maybe 2 months, and Ryan Haynes, who we mentioned earlier, shout out Ryan in the Canadian Pickleball Series, he asked me to be his partner in my first tournament. So I go to this tournament, and I'm playing it, and I end up playing singles. And me being a tennis guy, I kind of knew how to play singles. And there was like maybe 4 or 5 guys in the singles draw, and one of those guys was Mark Renneson. Now, I think everyone here watching probably knows who Mark Renneson is. He's probably a good friend of yours because you guys both do commentary and are huge influencers at pickleball.
Yes.
And Mark is a 5.0 pro. So I go into this tournament and I play Mark the first time and I lose. And I'm like, not shocked. I'm like, this guy is literally a traveling pickleball pro. Then I make the final and I come back and I beat him in 3 games. I beat him, I think it was like 11-9, 12-10 maybe, or 11-8, and then like 15-9. And I take the gold medal. So I immediately, like, I'm so new to the sport. I'm like, what just happened? Like, I just started playing pickleball and then I beat like a 5-0. Like, am I a 5-0? Like, I have no idea. So anyway, I'm like, okay, this sport is kind of fun, whatever. And I end up linking up with a buddy of mine, Matthew Kawamoto. If the Kawamotos are watching, hey guys, save me a plate for dinner at your table of 20 next time you guys all get together. I love you guys. And we ended up going to Bend, Oregon, and playing in the hey.
Keep going. I think this was a great time to bring Chris K on.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went to Oregon and played at the time it was PPF. I was like, if I'm ever going to play a pro sport or a pro tournament, let's do it. And I went in and I played singles. And I think I texted you this earlier. I was playing Kyle Yates, my first match in singles against Kyle Yates. If anyone here knows Kyle Yates, yeah, he's a big deal. And I was playing outdoors with the Dura, 2 things I've never done. And I got my butt spanked. Then I go and I play a guy named Justin Schomacher. I catch a rhythm. I beat him. I beat Rob Cassidy. Rob Cassidy returned the favor and beat me in doubles later the next day, but it's a sidebar. And anyway, so I say that I'm a 5-0 singles player. I don't know if this is true because at that point, like, ratings were kind of like weird. Like, no one really knew what niche they were at the time, right? Like, Chris was walking around saying that he was a 2-5, I think. Like, I don't remember. And so fast forward a year to Canadian Nationals. And we're playing in Canadian Nationals, and I'm playing against a really good kid named Jordan Renwick, who is probably the #1 Canadian singles player in Canada. And he kicked my butt, like, just destroyed me. And then I played against another guy named Zach Lyle, who was this like 6'6", just giant, and beat me 16-14. So I won 1, lost 2, and I get a phone call from a US number. Okay, this is where the story goes. Okay, so Steve will appreciate this. I get a phone call from a US number, and it is Peter Didcock with the US APA. Again, no. I have no idea who this guy is, what the US APA is, but it sounds legit. So he calls me up on this number and says, "Hey, this is Peter Didcock with the US APA. Just wanted to say we've been following your results at Canadian Nationals, and we are slightly disappointed, saying that you are a 5.0 because you just went 1-2 in the 5.0 Open, and
What?
your 5.0 rating may be at jeopardy. So what we need you to do is to send us via email a 1-page, 300-word essay about why you lost and why you should still be a 5.0.
What?
I get off the call. Chris knows. I think Chris was there. I was like, Chris, man, this is insane. This is insane. Chris is like, man, like I have no idea, but like, just do it. Like, I don't know if he knew or not. Like, I was rattled. And so I literally get on my phone and I start typing like a freaking essay, and I send it to this number that Peter Didcock gave me, and I had no idea what it was. So I sent him this essay, and then I Google the number, and it's from Vancouver, Canada. I'm like, what the heck? And then he calls me back, and he's like, man, this is Steve Deacon. You just got punked. And I was like, no.
Oh, that is
Oh
so
my.
good.
Steve took that piece of writing. I guarantee if you asked, he could probably send it to you. Like he
That is so
probably has it
good.
framed in his office. Like,
I
man,
guarantee
he
you he
got me.
does. I guarantee
Oh
you
my
he
goodness.
has that.
He got
Dude,
me, and
that
it was ridiculous.
that is so good. I didn't know Steve Deacon
Yeah.
had that type of sense of humor.
You know what? This was honestly like at the time, like I barely knew Steve. Like I played one tournament against him and had met him through that. So like I didn't have his number. I wasn't really his friend. Like he was just someone that I knew through somebody else. And then he pulled this on me, and I was like, man, like you are sly. I respect this. I respect this a lot.
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah.
All right, look, Joe, the reason I brought Chris on is
Let's do
because
it.
we're both mutual friends with you.
Yeah.
And Chris and I have been talking about playing in a tournament together for I don't know, at least a year and a half.
I know.
Years,
I
yeah.
know.
It's
I
been years.
know.
And
Yeah.
and I just want to say publicly, Chris, we will team up at some point. I don't know when
All
it's
right,
going to
man.
be exactly, but
Let's
Making
do it.
will happen.
connections.
Let's make sure Joe Williamson is in the bracket, and
Is that
we will take him down.
Ooh, these are
I
fighting
love it.
words. All right.
That's
All
right.
right.
That's right. But I
I'll
want
choose my
Chris,
own character.
I love it. I love it. I want Chris. The reason I brought him on is because you guys are friends, and I want Chris to talk about he's got a story about the first time you guys met, or even before you guys officially met. So I'm gonna let Chris take the hot seat and explain it.
Okay. I'm
Let's
actually
do it
seeing here in
special.
the comments people wanting to see the essay you wrote. So yeah, let's go ahead and make sure that's available here pretty soon so people can see that essay you wrote back to Peter Didcock, because I do remember scrolling through on the phone and doing some editing for you and making sure that was in top notch, ready to be submitted to the USAPA to keep you at your 5.0 rating. So yeah, I'm still waiting on that $5 you promised me too. But yeah, when Joe moved out here from Ontario out to Alberta, it's a pretty long move, obviously for people familiar with Canada. But I've been playing for a long time. I've been like I like to joke, I'm 4-5 for life. Been trying to avoid that 5.0 move for as long as I can, because I hate to lose, and I know how good some of those guys are. So Joe sent me this message, this email. He looked up my information and says, hey, I'm a 4-5 from Ontario coming out, looking to get some games in. And I mean, some of the guys that I play with, I see some of you guys checking in here, in the Calgary area. We know we get some of these people that are 4-5, 5.0 come in, and when they're on the court, they're more like a 3-5, 4.0 best. So we've turned into a little bit of a snobby group at times, and you hear these people coming up that are 5.0s, and we're pretty protective. So I kind of gave Joe a little bit of the cold shoulder in an email and said, we're pretty good, man. I don't know, like, if you're actually a 4-5, we'll definitely give you a trial here and maybe give you a game or two. But we definitely didn't have the highest hopes for this kid from Ontario coming out here, and it actually ties in really good with his story of going down to Oregon. But he came out and played with us, and I think there was 5 of us because we wanted to be able to tell this kid to go away if he sucked. And we played with him, and he was okay. Like, we all thought, man, lots of potential, decent player, really fast, has a really good drive, but he's got some work to do. And then he goes down to this tournament. And then we played with him like 3-4 days after he came back from this tournament, and we could all, like, he just took this massive jump in his game. And if I said he was probably the 5th best player in our group of 5, I'd put him probably the top player in our group just in a 1 week stretch there, just when he kind of got to see some competition, and then obviously seeing guys like Kyle Yates play, and yeah, he's a cool guy to have around and get to play with every once in a while. So,
that's awesome, man. It was absolutely worth bringing you on just to hear that story alone. I mean, I am sure you've got many stories about Joe and his experiences with you in pickleball.
Canadian Nationals, baby.
Yeah, there's a few.
Well, and while I've got all three of you guys on, I did a little homework on Joe Joe Williamson, actually, from
We're
a pickleball
back check
standpoint.
now.
But yeah, Joe's, just so everybody's on the same page here, Joe's first tournament was in May of 2017. It was actually the tournament was I don't even know the name. I can't remember the name. It was
London LLPC, like the London Pickleball Club.
London Pickleball Club. And his first tournament, he was 22 years old, 23 as far as pickleball world was concerned. And he started at the 4.0 level, okay? He played with Ryan Haynes, who, if you know Ryan, you love Ryan. If you know Ryan, you love Ryan. He's great. They went 4 wins and 2 losses, okay, 4-2. So they didn't go undefeated. They didn't just run the table, but they did come out with a winning record. And they actually took bronze in their first 4.0 tournament at the LLPC. So I'm going to tie this in a second because Joe's going to love this. But his most recent tournament, actually, Chris is going to love this too. His most recent tournament was the Toronto Cup in February of 2020, which I would have to imagine was both of y'all's last tournaments. Is that right? Or did you guys play another one since then?
Yeah, it is.
We were supposed to play one about 3 weeks ago in Vancouver, but that obviously got postponed. Yeah, so February was our last one.
February was most people's last ones. A couple people braved the pickleball world and played a tournament or two in March, but most people, February was the last. You guys, you and Matthew Kawamoto, a great player who obviously carried he carried the team.
I mean, Chris isn't not gonna lie. That's probably true.
Yep.
I love it
here.
I love it. You guys went 3 wins and 0 losses in pool play. You won 15-1, 15-6, and 15-5. I'm sorry, Chris, to have to say this. The second game in that pool play was against you.
Yeah.
15-6. Real quick, brief explanation. What happened there? I don't want Joe to talk on this. I want Chris to give us the explanation.
Ooh.
Wow. We were trying to stay away from Kawamoto, and we just couldn't. So, I mean, as long as we kept the ball to Joe, we had some good points, and I think it was a lot closer than 15-6. That's just the number on the scoreboard. But
was the game competitive? Because obviously I've been in a lot of games where 15-6 was the final, where I came out on the losing end, but the points were competitive.
No, it was not competitive.
It was not. It was not.
Not at all. No, me and my partner, Paul Clemens, or Uncle PC, if he's watching.
Uncle PC.
His go-to name, Uncle PC, from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Yeah, him and I.
Good Canadian boy.
Good Canadian boy. Never played together. We we had a few tournaments here on the docket together this spring and into the summer. So Toronto Cup was kind of our first crack, and to see how we would do together. And yeah, I mean, we had some good things, some bad things we want to work on, and yeah, it was not a great result against Kawamoto and his partner, whatever that guy's name was.
All right, Joe. In hindsight, 15-6 win against Chris K and Paul. What was the game plan going in? Did you guys want to pick on a particular person?
No. It's weird. Like, Matt and I, we've played a lot together. Like, and by a lot, I just go by my standards. Like, I think Matt has had partners that he's played more with and whatnot, but he would be one of my go-to partners, obviously. So we have chemistry. So we kind of we're both athletic. We both get around the court. Like, it's pretty hard to hit winners on us. I think Chris can probably attest to that. So we do a good job of covering the court. We had no strategy of picking on. Whenever I play with Matt and I both have the offense, and Matt specifically, myself as well, have really good defense. We can stay in points. So we don't really care who we play to initially. We want to feel out the game and the flow. And we know that we're going to keep ourselves in as many points as possible. And honestly, like in the game against Chris and Paul, like whenever I'm promoting pickleball and I'm trying to talk at a high level, and you look at who's beating who, the team that hits the ball over the net more than the other team is the team that wins. So all we have to do is hit the ball
Great
over the
point.
net. It's
Great
simple,
point.
right? Like if you're hitting the ball into the net or out of the court, you will lose. Like there's literally no qualms about that. And so Chris and his partner had a really good strategy of trying to hit the ball into the net or out of the court. And so it kind of just worked really well for us, where all we had to do was just keep it in, and they had a way of hitting it out. So I think that was our strategy.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome, man. All right. So you guys went 3-0. Were you guys the number 1 seed in that tournament going into the bracket?
No. Have you ever heard of a guy named Steve Deacon? I don't know if we've talked about him a fair amount. Like
I
this
think I've
old
heard of
kind
this
of
guy.
grizzly guy, has a cane, silver fox
Also goes by
hair.
Peter Didcock.
Yeah,
Also
also
goes
goes
as
by
Peter
Peter
Didcock.
Didcock.
Anyway, so him and his partner Mike Yee were the number 1 seed, and Mike is a good friend of mine. We actually play a lot together. He's another one of my partners. They were the number 1 seed, and then another really good Canadian player, Ernesto Fajardo.
Yeah,
Him
Ernesto.
and Rob Cassidy were the number 2 seed, and then Matt and I slided it at number 3. And I mean, I thought that was really reasonable seeding to start the tournament. And it pretty much ended like that anyway, with the exception that Rob and Ernesto did a really good job in the final of beating Steve and Mike. So the seeds going in were Steve at 1, Rob and Ernesto at 2, us at 3, and it ended up with us at 3, Steve at 2, and Rob and Ernesto at 1. So we had a pretty competitive game against Ernesto and Rob in the semifinals. It was 15-6, similar scoreline, but
So
it was
that's a close
competitive.
game. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
There were some kind of, like, when you get to that pro level, like, it just comes down to a few errors. Like we made a few mistakes. Ernesto did a phenomenal job of fooling me with his like deception shot. Like I had no idea where it was going. This little like backhand inside out roll, and they did a really good job. But we had a really good semifinal. I don't know. Shout out to New York Pickleball, Jose Derisi and Sean
Rochester,
Williams.
baby. Rochester.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the 585. I don't know if I'm giving them the credit.
That's right.
But yeah, we had a really nice semifinal against them. We came out on top, but Jose is a really nice player, and Sean is a grinder, right? They did a good job of keeping on fighting, which is nice.
Absolutely. So it looks like in the medal rounds, from what I could see, you guys went 2 wins and 1 loss, being the only loss to Steve Deacon and Mike Yee. Is that right?
No, we only lost to Rob and Ernesto, and then so it was like the pool gave us a quarterfinal, and then it was the top 8 played off.
Okay.
The losers left, and then the semifinals, the winners go to gold and losers go to bronze.
Okay, gotcha. And was Chris Special K watching on the sidelines the whole time since he didn't make it to the?
I think he was.
No, I was drinking. I was drinking by then.
Oh, you were drinking. Yeah, a couple tequila.
Not the fun way either. No.
I love it. All right. And I think we should start calling Joe Tony the Bronze Boy, since his first tournament in 2017, he got bronze. And in 2020, 3 years later, he took bronze at the Toronto Open. So no, I'm just kidding. Dude, listen, it sounds like you're in the midst of great names, great players out of Canada. You guys are coming on strong. Canada, I find it ironic that I've interviewed several Canadians in a row here, and and then having Chris K on, who by the way I have known for a couple of years now, and have a lot of respect for. And I just think that the Canadian pickleball scene is making a big splash. I mean, would you guys agree?
Go for it.
Yeah, no, pickleball in this country has blown up. I travel across the country and teach pickleball with Peter Didcock, and we get to see some of the level of play, and when you start naming some of the people that are just even in the 4-5 and 5-0 brackets that we're seeing at tournaments, and seeing travel down to the US and attend some of these major events, and including nationals, down at Indian Wells was a pretty cool experience. And I know Joe obviously can't travel to some of those because of his job, but I don't have a job, so it's not a real job anyway. So I'm at all of these things, and just being able to see not only the caliber of play, but the number of people that are doing that, whether they're in their 60s and 70s, And even some young. I see one young guy here watching right now, Haddo. He was down at nationals,
Hey,
and
Roger Federer.
so
Shout out
yeah,
to
there's
Fed.
a
Mini
few
Fed.
pretty good growing player base, and then I mean, anytime you have the numbers, you start seeing higher caliber play. So it's just been a pleasure. You know, I've been playing since 2010. To see the caliber of play, the number of players, and it's yeah, you're going to see a lot more from Canada here in the coming years, especially with Peter Didcock and I traveling around.
I love it. I really do hate that Joe can't make it to some of the more major tournaments, because I think he could make a big, a big splash on the pro scene, if he had the time to put in. Just his limited amount of time that he has, he's doing some big stuff. So just the fact that you medaled against Steve Deacon, I mean, that right there, I mean, with him in the tournament, that's exponential growth. So I really
Yeah,
think that Canada's doing great, man.
I agree. I think like like I said, this interview is sponsored by the Canadian Pickleball Series. Like, it's one thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to grow the game through the high level athletes like myself, Chris, and Steve Deacon and Ernesto. Like, we're trying to go to these tournaments and show up, and people know us, and it's going to allow them to access those tournaments and access the pro circuit and just see what pickleball is all about, right? And I think that what we're doing in Canada is a little bit behind the US, but I think we're making huge waves, and I'm really excited about where pickleball is going to be in the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, between Steve Deacon's performances at the biggest stages, taking silver at USAPA Nationals in November, that's huge for Canada. Between Joe Tony coming out with his epic, pro characters on his TikTok videos, and then Chris K being just an absolute rock solid pickleball player, a 4-5er for life. I think you guys, I mean, Matthew Kawamoto, the list could go on and on, guys. I don't want to miss anybody, but the Canadian scene is absolutely on fire. And I've had the pleasure of meeting you guys either through virtual or in real life. I've had the pleasure of meeting Steve Deacon in real life, Matthew Kawamoto, and several other of the Canadian players. And I just think that you guys bring as much passion and energy to the game of pickleball as any other country in this sport. And kudos to you guys.
I think what's really cool, Scott, is like I think we play with a chip on our shoulder, right? Like, I really think we do. When we go down to the States, like, we have something to prove because no one knows who we are, right? Because everyone in the States knows everyone in the States, and we are just those northern partners, right? We are. And I think, like, Steve specifically, like, you can tell that, like, when he's playing, like, he's dialed in. And that's not because he wants to win money, right? That's not because he wants to do it for the glory, right? Because he has enough of that. He's got an amazing wife. But he does it because he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Like, he has something to prove. Like, when he got, bronze at US Open last year with Randy Zabidin, like, that was huge. Like, he had something to prove. He had someone, like, he wanted to put himself out there in the biggest way, right? Like, I know Ernesto came down to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and 2 years ago, and played with Enrique Ruiz, and he beat Tyson McGuffin and Brian Ashworth.
Incredible.
Like, he had something to prove, right? Like, it's what we can do if we put the time in and given the opportunities and the platform. Like, the sky's the limit for the Canadian pickleball scene, honestly.
I love it. And while we're on that subject, I just want to say that in January 2020, I was able to take down Ian Lepine and Louis Charles at the men's doubles 5.0 division. And we had a close match. It was 16-14. Those guys, especially at the end, they really turned it up on us. They really turned it up on me and my partner, Josh Saylor. And man, we were feeling the pressure. So,
Awesome.
but yeah. So, okay, Chris, while I've got you, before you go and we get back to Joe's interview, what else, is there anything else you would like to say, good or bad, in regards to Joe Tony while you've got him? Joe Williamson.
Oh boy.
Hey,
public?
my parents are watching. My parents are watching.
There's one story I could probably bring up. There's a few people I've seen sign in here that we're privy to this one, but some of you that know me know I worked pretty hard over a couple of years and dropped a fair bit of weight, about 85 pounds.
Whew.
Made me a little quicker on the pickleball court. But when I first started this new diet, this new way of eating, it also involved not consuming alcohol. And I'd been probably 4 or 5 months without a single drink. And then at the same Canadian Nationals that we've brought up a couple of times here already today, had a decent day myself in the lower division than Joe's pro division. But Joe actually came away with a bronze medal, believe it or not.
Classic bronze boy.
In the Canadian Men's Open.
Don't talk about how we were up 10-3 in the third game and lost 12-10. I don't want to bring up those memories.
Oh, man.
I wasn't going there. No.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I got a medal that day myself, and my wife and I went out for a really nice dinner at one of our favorite restaurants, and spent a whole bunch of money, and decided to split a little bottle of wine. And of course, myself not having had a drink in months, that half a bottle of wine got me going a little bit. Started walking down the street and ran into to Joe Tony and a few other guys having a drink or two, and we had a bit of a runaway that night. It involved a place called the Liquid Zoo, and maybe we'll leave it there. But
we will leave it there.
It was a good evening, I think. Yeah,
it was awesome.
That's an epic story to end in Chris K's run here on the Golden Boy Pickleball Show. I love that story, Chris. That will go down in infamy. I'm sure if I would have been there, I would have had an amazing night with you guys.
100%. It's great.
But you guys are great, man. And Chris, listen, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're a guy who I have a lot of respect for. Like I've said, you've always been a guy who if I have anything that I need to find out about, pickleball related, I can text you. You've always reached out to me, and I promise we will take Joe down in a tournament at some point.
Do it. I'm ready. Anytime.
No way. Well, get out of here.
Anytime.
But seriously, Chris has been steadfast in asking me to play, and unfortunately, our schedules just either I couldn't make it to that tournament or he couldn't make it to a tournament I was going to be at. But at some point, inevitably, we will get on the court together, and I hope it's at Joe Williamson's expense. So
it will be. It will.
But
fighting words.
I love it. All right, Chris. Thanks for your time, man, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, take care.
See you, Chris. That was fun. That was a fun surprise.
Yeah, man.
Do you have any other surprises?
No, as of right now, no more surprises. Earlier I asked you who your buddies in pickleball were. I said I didn't have a reason. That's a lie.
That was quick, man. That was a quick turnaround. Holy moly. Did you message all those guys or just Chris?
I actually saw the list, and because of my relationship with Chris and how he and I have not been able to team up, but he's always been very, very respectful and just a great guy. I thought, he'd be a good one to bring on to the show. And
100%.
Dude, great stories about you and him. And I thought it was also one of the deciding factors was I could either bring Steve Deacon back on to talk about how he was able to win the gold at that tournament recently, or bring on
Silver.
Oh, he got silver. Who got gold?
Got silver. Ernesto and Rob Cassidy.
Oh,
they beat him.
Wow. I didn't. You know what? You're right. You said that, but in my mind,
I don't talk about Steve losing much. It's okay. Steve doesn't really think about those things either.
You know what? I saw Steve, and I just automatically associated him with a gold medal. I don't know why that happened.
That's fair.
All right, look, let's run through these real quick because we've gotten. You know what, man? It's been an hour and 51 minutes, and it's just absolutely been amazing.
Let's just keep going. I got nothing else to do. You got nothing else to do.
We're quarantined, bro. We're quarantined.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's run through these questions. We're a little behind on these questions, but Lauren Stratton, who you and I, by the way, talked about earlier, she said, "What's up, Joe? Love your videos. How did you get introduced to pickleball? Do you come from any other sports background?" So go ahead and touch on that right there.
Yeah. So like I think I mentioned maybe earlier, I got introduced to pickleball by a friend of mine who kind of just like out of the blue texted me being like, "Yo, do you want to play pickleball?" I was like, "No, what is that?" I don't like my vegetables with my sports. Like, this is just not something I'm into. And then I ended up going out playing on a court with a small ball, with a small paddle. I was whiffing on everything or hitting it 20 feet out because I was used to a tennis racket. And excuse me. And then as I played, I was playing a couple times a week. The community that I actually started with included me in a tournament. That's when I got to go to my first tournament that I think you just brought up the results of, the Bronze Boy. But I did win a gold medal in that tournament. So, I mean, and I know actually I have it back there on my counter with all my medals. I can pull them up, but we don't need to do that. And yeah, anyway, and then a couple months later, I went to Bend, played that PPF tournament, won a couple matches. Fun story as well, Scott. Our first ever doubles match outdoors was against Kyle Yates and Wes Gabrielson. Myself and Matthew Kawamoto. Scott, we went up 9-0 on Scott. We went up 9-0 on Wes and Kyle in game one. 9-0.
What?
Kyle was cold. Like, obviously, like, he played singles the day before and got maybe like 6th or 7th. And then Wes was coming in. And I think they kind of were like, oh, these are 4 or 5 Canadians. Like, we're done. We're easy. And Matt and I came out and we kept everything in. We played super patient. Matthew has great hands. He was going toe-to-toe with Wes. I was like, he was like the setup guy and I was the finisher. So he was like setting me up and then I was finishing and they couldn't really anticipate. So we went up 9-0 and I think they took a timeout. And I think Kyle Yates said, I can't risk my reputation on losing to these 2 punks from Canada.
These there's no way. Canadian fools.
And Kyle came out and they beat us, Scott. They beat us 11-9. So
Stop.
11 points in a row and then 11-1.
What was the difference coming out of that timeout? What was the biggest difference?
I think they just took it serious. Honestly, I think they just took it seriously. And they had kind of seen that, like, again, Matt and I were only playing, this was our first tournament ever. He was obviously the hands guy. I was the finisher. And I think that they knew whenever I got a high ball, I was gonna speed it up. And I, at that point, hadn't really had the skill of the third shot after I speed it up. So I'll speed it up, they hit it back, and then I'm like, what do I do? So I was getting caught a lot, right? Or we just hadn't really worked out the professional technique that we had to close out a match, honestly. Yeah. And so they were, they came back and they really took it to us. But that's a fun story about how I started. And
that's so good.
The next part of the question. Yeah, and I did come from a sports background. So again, I played hockey for, I mentioned 11 years. I started when I was 6 and I ended when I was 17. I had a few concussions. So if I'm slurring my speech at all or anything's not looking right here, I blame it on that. And yeah, so I had a few concussions and I decided to play less hockey. And around that time I started dancing, which we can get into later if you want. So one of the things that I started doing when I was like 13 was my dad and we all went to Florida on a trip to Disney World. And my dad bought these we rented these rackets from the store that was there. And my dad beat us. And we didn't really know exactly how to keep score. So Dad, if you're watching right now, yeah, you got us. Great. Good for you. But it wasn't legit. And so he beat us pretty handily. And I just say 6-0, 6-0 because people who know tennis will know that score line is the double bagel, the embarrassment, the hang your towel and leave. And so in that moment, my brother and I both kind of made a pact to say, all right, we gotta kick our dad's ass, realistically. And we came back. That was on March break, I think maybe. And that summer we went to a tennis camp for a week, fell in love with it, and we went to tennis camp the next year. And then I started working as a tennis counselor. So every summer I was coaching tennis in the summers, and then the evenings I would text my buddies and say, hey, do you want to get a singles game going or something? And I would just progressively start playing with better and better players. And that actually allowed me to eventually, when I went to university, play on, which is kind of cool. Don't get this confused if you're watching from America. University tennis in America is very different than university tennis in Canada. But I think the level of athlete is pretty comparable. It's just a lot of the other stuff that isn't the same. So to answer Lauren's question.
We kind of talked on that. Yeah, we talked about that in depth.
To answer Lauren's question, I do have a sports background, but it's a little disconnected, I guess.
I love it. All right, next question comes from Sean McCartan. And Sean
Oh,
says, "Can
Sean.
you show everyone some of your dance moves?" Right now, probably we won't be able to showcase your moves. Uh-oh. Let me
There's
back
some.
up. That's actually really good, actually. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. That was pretty
So
impressive.
actually, funny story. Right around when I started playing tennis, I started teaching myself how to dance. So I like to call myself a self-starter. Like I kind of taught myself how to play high-level tennis, kind of taught myself how to play high-level pickleball, and I taught myself how to dance, man. I just like watch YouTube videos and try copying it in the mirror. My parents were probably like, "Why is the speaker just blasting right now? What is he doing?" And yeah, man, it just opened up a whole new opportunity for me in dancing and stuff like that. So I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, but I also want to point out that if Scott Golden, the Golden Boy, would try to self-teach myself how to dance, it wouldn't go well. So I wanna give you at least a little credit in the dancing world.
Thank you.
Singing and dancing are two things that I think you're naturally gifted with. I think that's what God gives you, right? When God makes people, he
Yeah. When
every
God is
so
pouring the
often,
cup, right? Yeah.
right, every so often he's like, you know what, Joe Williamson is gonna get some dancing skills. So
Mhm.
if you can sing or you can dance, I don't think. Listen, I don't want to say that you can't self teach somewhat how to sing or dance, but I think some of it is also just natural God given talent.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you have to have some mobility or athleticism or something to be able to do these things. But at the same time, like even if you have a passion for dancing and you self-teach, maybe the only thing you can do is two-step or, make a box in your with your feet, but like it's better than nothing. Like
It's
at
better than
least you
nothing.
you have that, right?
Well, I don't know if you've seen this, and if you haven't, I would encourage you not to go see it. Um, Me and my girlfriend Sarah during the quarantine, to in an attempt to have a little fun and also entertain some people, and hopefully not bleed some eardrums. We did some karaoke nights. Okay, we've done two of them, and I can tell you that she is much better at singing than I am. And I don't care how much I practice, Joe. I will not ever be a good singer. So I'm much better on the pickleball court than I am at karaoke. But don't
That's
go
fair.
watch those videos. You will not. You'll
Okay.
laugh, but you will
I
not
won't. I won't.
enjoy my section of the singing.
I'll cut that part out. I will cut that part out.
I love it. All right, next question. Belinda Detman. She, by the way, real quick for anybody that doesn't know, which I'm sure everybody knows, Belinda is a very loved photographer for racquetball and pickleball. She first went to the U.S. Open, I think, in 2018, down in Naples, and she discovered pickleball. Has been in love with it ever since. She takes some of the best pictures in pickleball. She has a question for Joe. She said, "Will there be a Choose Your Pickleball Pro Ladies Edition," which you touched on this earlier, but for anybody not
Yeah.
watching earlier, maybe they're watching now, go ahead and tell your
Yeah.
answer to that.
So again, I don't want to give away too many secrets. I want there to be a little bit of, surprise and anticipation. It's something that I'm looking to do. But I don't know if you can see how long my hair is. It's not that long. I don't have any skirts. So I'm looking for some materials that are going to allow me to do these things. It's something that I hope to do. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. That's the
Okay.
good enough answer.
Very cool. Very cool. I like it. No, that's good. I'm trying to get through some of these questions for you so that you can answer everybody's questions. One thing I like to do is make sure that the viewers watching are interactive, right? Because you
Absolutely.
know it's been 2 hours, and I would hate for people to sit here and watch the 2 hours and have made a comment or a question, and
Mhm.
mostly questions, and not get the recognition that they deserve. So
Well,
let's
and
see.
we could do these interviews, but not have an audience, but it just wouldn't have the same effect. So we're
It
doing it for the
doesn't.
audience,
You're
right?
right, man. Because I'll be honest, like, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but like, you might have thought the same thing. I think a lot of times when I'm going, okay, I want to interview so and so. Let's just plug your name in. I want to interview Joe Williamson, and I think if we just did this on like an interview with just you and I would be like this is
It'd be
boring.
fine.
Yeah,
It would be fine, but like
it would be
it wouldn't have the same appeal.
correct. It's like I would be
Yeah,
interested in what you're talking about, but I just love the interaction with the viewers. And I think that's really
for
what
sure.
makes it special. I mean, do you agree?
I completely agree. Let's do another question. Let's get it.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. There's a lot of comments, but not as many questions. I mean, like right here, you got
Oh, Hado.
Hato, y'all mentioned Hato, so I'll throw that comment up there. My guy Chris K. So obviously he's got a relationship with Chris K in some form.
Yeah, they're good
Does,
buddies.
does Hato play pickleball?
He does, yeah. Hado started playing. I mean, he can correct me if I'm wrong, probably. I think it was like maybe a year ago. His dad started playing, and then he was a little apprehensive, and he started playing, came in at like I think 3-5. He actually started playing his like first tournaments with Chris's wife in 3-5. And now he's playing 4-0, 4-5. Like he's
Wow,
really improved. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of potential. And he's just a
that's
good
awesome.
guy. Like it's just fun to play against him.
Man, I hear that over and over about people that are good people in pickleball.
Mhm.
The sport, I've always said this, Joe, and I think if you hear what I'm saying and you really process it, you'll agree. The sport of pickleball is what brought me in, but the people of pickleball is what keeps me coming back, right? So
Absolutely.
the game is the game. Hitting a ball over a net with any any paddle or racket, a tennis, badminton, ping pong, that game in and of itself is fun. But it's the people, right, of pickleball that make pickleball special and make it what it is.
Absolutely. Like, and I think the fact that it's like such a global community and it's something that everybody can play, and every tournament has all these skill levels and all these ages. So you're playing against people that are competitive, but you're also meeting new people. I think that that's just so huge. And again, like the people that are playing pickleball are playing it because it's fun, right? And not, and then, yeah, playing it is one thing, and leaving your blood and sweat on the court is one thing, and leaving your all out there and doing your best, and being an athlete is one thing. But when the lights go off and then the nets get taken down, there's so much more to pickleball. And like you said, it's that community. It's that feeling that when a day's done, a group goes out for dinner and has a social gathering. It's when you go to a tournament, maybe someone billets you. I know Steve Deacon loves billets, and you stay with a family's house and you get to know them and appreciate them and meet new people. Like it's such a cool opportunity that other sports just don't happen really, because like you look at the big sports like basketball, football, tennis, hockey, all these baseball, they're pro. Like you're watching the pros, and if you go to a pro event, there's nothing else. It's not like when you go watch an NBA game or a tennis tournament, you can play. Like that's not the purpose. You're a spectator. But pickleball, you can be a spectator, a fan, and a friend of the community. And I think having those three levels just transcends the game.
Yeah, man, you see the big smile on my face as you're talking about that. Like for the last 3 years, that's basically been my life. I mean, my life
Mm-hmm.
has been consumed with traveling across the US, and hopefully Canada and some other parts of the world. But, you know, just being a part of the pickleball community and seeing the cohesiveness. Listen, not everybody gets along. You touched on this earlier. Not everybody in life is going to like Joe Williamson. Not everybody's going to like the Golden Boy. But you know what? At the end of the day, you surround yourself with the people that make you better, right? And that
100%.
bring out the best in you. And I found as a whole, there's always some bad apples, but in everything we do. But as a whole, the pickleball community is so amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful for pickleball bringing you into my life. I mean, you're a fascinating guy, man. I truly
Appreciate
believe
that, man.
that
Appreciate that a lot.
this interview is clearly better than Steve Deacon's. I mean, hands
Whoa.
down,
Hey,
hands down. I have to say that, by the way, because
I know. I didn't pay you to say that. I did
that's
not pay
right.
you to say that.
You did not, but truly, this has been a very, very good interview. And so the next question, or let's see, it's kind of a comment. Deke Marshall says, "We want to see the essay. Someone needs to pull some strings." I mean, I think Stacy can get that done. She's basically Steve's, wife and social media presence. So I think she could get that
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have it. I definitely erased that from my memory. I deleted the draft immediately because it was too heartbreaking. But if you talked to Steve Deegan, I don't think he knows how to delete text messages.
No, not
So
at
I
all.
think I think I think if you get Stacy on the case, she could probably pull it up and post it in the forum, and I'll be roasted, and I'm okay with that. You know, another way that people are gonna know the side of me that they do.
I love it. And then I love that Chris K said he proofread it and added
He
some good
did.
stuff.
He was sitting beside me. I was sweating. I literally was sweating, and it wasn't hot outside. I was like sitting there, like, man, I'm nervous. Like, I want this 5.0 rating. Like, that's what makes me a pro or a high level player. Like, I don't want someone to take it away. And I didn't know how it worked. Like, I didn't know how the system was working. Like, I had no
Well, of
idea.
course not. That's why he
It's
took
crazy.
advantage. He took
Oh,
advantage.
took advantage of a young guy.
He knew you were a school teacher and you would follow the rules. And so if he gave you
Oh,
some type of regulations, you would go by it.
it's crazy.
I love that story, by the way. That might be the most epic story that I've heard on any of my live teams today.
It's pretty good, man. It's gonna transcend this interview for sure.
That's awesome. And I don't know if Steve Deacon is smart enough to figure out how to watch these interviews live, but hopefully Stacy's watching and she will, verify all this information for us. By the way, I'm not sure that Steve would have done an interview or figured out how to do an interview if not for Stacy. So
again, we keep digging Steve whenever we can, because eventually he's going to be on the podium, and we can all remember where he was and the human that he is.
That's right. I love it. All right, Scott Yeager. He says Joe, the chemist, is going to start referring to Scott as "ah boy."
AU is the chemical symbol for gold.
Oh, okay. See, you can tell I'm not a chemistry major. So, okay. So Gold Boy. Yeah, I love it. Golden Boy. That's great, Scott. Thank you for that comment. And let's see what else we got here.
I just noticed that Glenn Lucy made a comment, and above that, maybe my brother made a comment. Could you pull those up?
Yes, I can. Also, Ryan Haynes, just on a quick side note, when I told that story, he said, so disappointed in Ian and Louis Charles. You know what? When you come up against the Golden Boy, you come up against a fierce competitor. That's all I'm saying. It was a good game, though. It was a great game.
Hey, Louis Charles and Ian are both, like, Ian's an amazing guy. Like, shout out to my other sponsor, like PB Sport. Like, they do amazing work. He's so authentic. He's so genuine. He's such a big heart. And Louis Charles is like a young kid. I think he's like 16 or 17 years old, and he's making waves. Like we were talking earlier, he won that 5.0 non-pro part of the Florida Grand Slam in singles. Like he's making a name for himself on his own, and he's doing a great job.
He's a stud. Both he and Ian Lapine are phenomenal humans and phenomenal players.
Ian got silver. Him and Ryan actually got silver at the U.S. Open last year in 4-5. They got to play on championship court.
They sure did. And a shout out to Ryan Haynes again for like the 15th time. He and I played some pickup games. We had 3 people. This is a quick side note. We had 3 people at the U.S. Open in one evening before the tournament started. And we put out a post on the pickleball forum to see if anybody was in town. And my boy, Ryan Haynes, answered the call, and he showed up to be our 4th. And just a great guy, man.
Ryan is the best. He's always looking to play. That's awesome.
I love it. He's great. All right. So Randy Burchell said fun interview and group of guys. So, no surprise there. I knew when I was going to bring Joe on, it was going to be a blast. Let's see. Again, Maggie says you guys are entertaining and fun. So there's a good comment there. Deke again says Joe kind of looks like Denny Torrio from Dance Fever back in the 80s. You know what? I'll take that.
I don't know who that is, but I appreciate that.
I think that's a compliment, bro.
Good. Let's take it. Let's take
it. All right, here's the one from John Williamson, who happens to be none other than the brother of Joe Williamson. Can we call him John Tony? Is it fair to call him John Tony?
I think we can call him John Tony. I think that's fair.
I love it. Who, by the way, John does play pickleball, not to the level maybe or the obsession that Joe has. But John says, hi, Joe. Big fan here. How many consecutive games of ping pong did you once win against your brother, John?
Right. Okay, are you ready for this story, Scott? This is insane.
This is insane.
We were in university, And I was going to university away from home in Kingston, where I started playing pickleball. It's about 2 hours from Ottawa, and my brother was living at home and still going to university. So when I came home in the summer, we were both under the same roof again, and my dad had kind of assembled a tabletop ping pong table that we could have used. We were commonly using it for pool, but my dad kind of like made a little ping pong table on top. And my brother and I would play, and we'd have battles. Like, I would describe myself as Ben Johns if we were comparing these to pickleball players, and I would compare John to Riley Newman. And for anyone watching, if you're a pickleball fan, that means that I was extremely aggressive and John was extremely defensive. And we would get into these like really long rallies, these really good exchanges. Anyway, we were both pretty even. And we started playing, I believe it was in April, right after exams had finished when I came home. And Scott, I won 98 consecutive matches against my brother until August. I had beaten him in ping pong.
What?
August, from April, May, June, July through August. I beat my brother 98 times in a row. It got to the point where I would beat him, and immediately after, he would say, "Let's go." Like, it was insane.
What?
And,
how could his ego sustain 98 losses?
It couldn't. So it got to the point, Scott, where I had come down ill. I was sick in August. And I had played my brother that morning and I had beaten him. Obviously, as things were going, that was the 98th win. And immediately after, he said, "Can we play again?" And I said, "No, I need to go take a nap and rest." I go to sleep, and my brother, obviously, as brothers do, complains to my mother that I'm not playing with him. And so my mom comes in the room and says, "Joe, can you just play with John one more time?" He's like super dejected. He's super upset. And I was like, "Ugh." So I go downstairs and he destroys me. It was like he came out on a mission. He was a new man.
A man
And
on fire.
he put his foot on my throat and did not look back. And he beat me so handily. And that was that stopped my 98 match winning streak against him.
Have you guys played since then?
We have. Yeah, he ended up
1 or 2 in a row because I was still sick. So he won, I think, 2 in a row. And then it got to the point where we were kind of going back and forth a little bit, but I always had the advantage. Like I beat him like 10 times in a row, and then he beat me, and then he'd be like, "Oh, yes." And I was like, "Dude, like I still beat you 10 in a row." But it wasn't the 10 in a row that mattered to him. It was that one win that he was able to get.
In true fashion, John is the epic brother who only remembers the wins, not the losses. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Great story from his brother John. Okay, Glenn Lucy, who is the guy who I never thought would watch this interview. However, he seems to be watching, at least in some capacity. He says, "Is this literally been going on for 2 hours?" Actually, it's been going on for 2 hours and 15 minutes and 59 seconds. So,
wow. Boom, Glenn, where you at?
come on, Glenn, get with it, buddy. Actually, I plan on having Glenn Lucy on one of my interviews in the future. I think he would be an entertaining guest. I don't know what he would say,
agree.
but
I mean, it would probably take 20 minutes, but
it would
I think
be 20
it would
minutes.
definitely. Yeah, it would be like one of his videos of like 100-shot rallies where everyone's hitting it super soft and not really trying to put it away. Like those ones that he shares on Facebook. Yeah, it'd be like that.
You know what? It's funny because anytime I talk to anybody about Glenn Lucy, they're like, "Oh, is that the guy that only posts like the good points where nobody puts it away and they go on for 60-point rallies?" I'm like, "Yep, that's him."
That's it. That's all he does.
Oh, I love it. All right, Keith Ramos. By the way, man, you have gotten more questions than Steve Deacon ever could have imagined having.
I mean, this is amazing. I'm not shocked, but I'm truly grateful.
I'm a little overwhelmed, even as the facilitator who's been interviewing for well over 2 years, that you have this many questions coming in. But Keith Ramos says, "Thanks for the great interview. I have to sign out, but we'll look forward to more. Good luck, Joe, and keep up the good work." So less of a question, more of a comment. That's just a testament to you and I think your ability to keep people entertained. I think you're just a great guy.
That.
The reason, again, just circling back, the reason for having you on is because you first posted some epic videos. But since that time, which has been all of about 3 days, I've come to realize that you're just a great human being and a person who I think now from this point forward, we will continue our friendship and hopefully
Absolutely.
either play on the court together or against each other in the future. I assure you.
Definitely.
Love it.
Definitely.
All right, Mike Melville says,
Hey.
great interview. Mike was the one that was saying that my interviews were warm-up interviews.
No. That was my buddy Chris. He runs a podcast. He's a professional tennis coach. And by pro, like that's his career, but he doesn't teach pros. He teaches like young kids. But he's like, we've been beaking at each other I'm like, hey, get me on your podcast. And he's like, yeah. And so when I posted this, that's why he was chirping you. No, Mike is the guy that got my brother playing. Mike
Okay,
is the
that's
guy.
the one you were talking about, the guy that you were talking about,
Yeah.
Mike. Okay, well, Mike, thank you for tuning in. Obviously, Joe's a guy who's bringing just immense value to the pickleball community by posting his videos of the characters for the video games. Cassandra Gerke, anybody that knows pickleball knows Cassandra. She's a pro on the women's side of the pickleball scene. She said, "Ladies pro, please." These were so funny. So she wants you to inevitably come out with some ladies videos, which I'm sure is in the pipeline.
It will. And again, like these videos are taking on a life of their own, and I couldn't be obviously more happy about that. I'm really happy they're bringing people together. Like I mentioned this earlier, I have like probably doubled the amount of Facebook friends just from like people reaching out to me, people that I just would have never known. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'll continue to make them. I'm going to do what I can. Again, my hair is only so long, but if this quarantine continues, like maybe I get into some long lengths that I can get into some of this stuff. So we'll see what I have down the pipeline, but I appreciate the comment, Cassandra.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you, Joe, and I think you already know this, but you've created a monster here. And people are gonna be calling for the encore over and over. So what I suggest is you go from being a math and chemistry teacher to
professional.
I mean, you do what you got to do. In other words, I'm just saying maybe visit the thrift store. Maybe you need to go to Walmart during October, and you need to continue to ever evolve your ability to mimic the pros in our sport.
Do you know what I think would be hilarious? And I don't know whoever's watching, but it would be amazing if I could take one of these characters and play against that person. So for example, like let's say I go to a tournament and there's a center court or something like that, and they're trying to do like a I don't know, like an interactive event.
Yeah,
like
they
kind of do it sometimes
exhibition.
Like an exhibition, right? And let's say I go out there and Newman's there, then I'll hop on court as Riley Newman and I'll play against Riley Newman. Right. Or I think that would be amazing. Right. Or if I did like the ladies pro, like I could see, I think Catherine Parenteau's watching. Bonjour, Catherine. I would do Catherine and either play with her or, play against her. And I think that would just it'd be amazing.
Oh, that is so good, man. That's so good. The sky's the limit with what you're doing with that. And again, kudos to you for being creative and just unique in your ability to get people to just come together in a time of honestly, it's kind of a strange time.
It's unprecedented. Like we never dealt with anything like this before. So we're all going through it together, right? And as long as we can go through it and have some smiles along the way, that's all we can do, right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't normally do interviews this many times in a short period of time because I like to let the people of pickleball simmer on the guests that I have. But right now, man, there's just not a ton going on pickleball wise. So I think doing interviews.
Thank you for bringing me in.
Oh, dude, listen, I would be crazy not to bring you on right now. You're like a freaking pickleball rock star at this point. I mean, you have gone viral in just a few days. I mean,
I know.
I always try to. People might wonder, like, how does the Golden Boy come up with his guest list? How does Scott consider who to bring on his show? Well, it's very simple, Joe. It's very simple. whoever the hot topic of the week is, that's who I'm trying to bring on the show. And
love it.
you are absolutely the hot topic of the week.
Thank you.
Not because of your stunning good looks or because you're the
that
most
just happens
eligible
naturally.
or it's not because you're eligible bachelor. You're the
Yeah.
most eligible bachelor in pickleball. But it has to do with you being creative with your videos.
Appreciate that.
I love it. All right. Sam Lazar said, thank you to the sponsors of the interview, Selkirk and the Canadian Pickleball Series. Do you want to give one more shout out to those guys? I think that's important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Selkirk, for obviously everything that you do for myself and the other athletes on tour. The pros, your support is tremendous. Selkirk is such a family-oriented company. Like every person, and they sponsor a ton of people. Like everyone who's a part of Selkirk feels like they are a part of a family. And Mike and Rob do a phenomenal job. So, guys, thank you so much for continuing to grow this game. And the Canadian Pickleball Series, Canada's just getting on the map with pickleball. I'm so grateful to know the guys that are at the grassroots level behind this series, Ryan Haynes, Steve Deacon. Keep putting in the work. I know we're obviously in tough times right now, but just keep your head down and big things are going to come for you guys and for everyone. And if you're in Canada and you want to find a way to play a pickleball tournament, there is no better tournament than something on this series because they're going to be the best players there. There's going to be the best audience, and just the tournaments are super well run.
Man, that's awesome. Great plug there for your sponsors and for the sponsor of the show tonight. And again,
and PB Sport.
PB Sport.
Ian Lepine's PB Sport. PB Sport has currently, I believe, 4 pros or on tour that are sponsored. So obviously you guys know Riley Newman. My first impression is sponsored by, I think maybe the first American sponsored by PB Sport, which is a Canadian pickleball company that works on just delivering really good quality pickleball content and equipment. And Catherine Parenteau and Athena, they're both also sponsored. And then I would say myself and Louis Charles are also sponsored. So some names that you guys might know, and if you don't know them now, you will. So please keep your eyes peeled because this is another amazing company and they're just doing amazing things.
That's awesome. Great plug there for Ian Lepine. He is a great guy. I've had a chance to meet him personally. Everything you said is spot on. And beat him. He has yet to beat me in a pickleball tournament, but the time will come where he will. I assure you. Randy Burchell said, and that essay story is legendary. Yeah, you know what? We're not seeing the end of that yet. That's gonna research.
No, it's gonna come up. It's gonna come up in hours or days. I don't know how long it's gonna take Steve to figure out his phone, but it could be centuries.
Well, if it's up to Steve, it'll never happen. But if Stacy jumps on the bandwagon, she'll have it done in a matter of minutes. Stacy,
God bless her.
She clearly, it says the rising tide brings everybody up. Well, in that marriage, her presence is the rising tide.
Agreed.
It doesn't matter. We don't care that she's not a 5.0 or a pro in pickleball.
Wow.
She's
clearly
she just
started. That's awesome.
Absolutely. She's clearly the let's just say Steve married up in that relationship. So
yeah.
I love it. All right. Your brother John responded. He said, fact check. Joe was not sick. The final ping pong summer series score was 145-3. My gosh.
He's just running his mouth right now. I was sick, but I mean, if he wants to take that away from me, that's fine. But yeah, 145-3 for anyone who wants to challenge me in ping pong. I know Riley Newman has actually gone on record. I have the messages to say that he's challenging me in ping pong. If anyone else wants to challenge me on tour, come at me. Let's get a little competition going. Obviously friendly. We're not playing for money. If we do, we'll play for Canadian dollars because they're worth a little less than the American dollar.
They'll translate better for you if you win.
100%.
So here's what I think we should do, because I'm all about just things unveiling in front of us. I think the next time Joe Williamson, Scott Golden, and Riley Newman are at a major tournament in pickleball, we should stage a live feed with me being the pro commentator of a match in table tennis between you and the one and only Riley Newman.
Better, I will be Riley Newman playing Riley Newman.
Oh, that is good. Okay, see, now we've got a theme for this whole thing. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. All right,
love it.
Jordan Brave Briones, who everybody, if you've been around pickleball, you know he has primetime pickleball. Jordan tuning in. Thanks so much, Jordan, for tuning in. He says, "What's up, guys?"
What's up, Jordan?
Have
Appreciate
you
you being here.
have you ever
I've
watched
never met Jordan.
any of his videos?
I have actually. When I started like learning pickleball and trying to elevate my game, I went to Primetime Pickleball and definitely tried watching some of his YouTube videos. Like he has great guests, and so watching them and seeing some of the little kind of technical things that they would do was really helpful for me to elevate my game.
Absolutely. Casey Clancy, who I'd be remiss if I didn't at least give her a quick shout out. She says, "LOL, I love the rivalry with Glenn Lucy." Glenn is a guy who's been for me and against me many, many times. I don't know if he's on my side or against me. I really don't know, but I do think it's fun to banter with Glenn. He's a great guy. Honestly, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to meet Glenn Lucy before?
I actually, again, I haven't. Like, I thought he would have been similar to you. The reason I included you guys in my videos was, I wasn't anticipating the reception from the first one. And I was like, I'm going to include people that people know because that's going to make them watch it, enjoy it, and
Yeah.
relate to it more. So I included you. Obviously, you're a 5-0 pro as well. I don't know about Glenn Lucy. But I haven't met him. I would love to meet him. He seems like an interesting guy. And again, if I play him in pickleball, I'll go Glenn Lucy versus Glenn Lucy all day. I've got that backhand little flick and the weird kind of like chicken reactions down to a science. So I got
Boom.
Glenn.
Boom. Let's do it. I would love to set up a match with you and me on the same side against Glenn Lucy and whoever he chooses.
Ooh, this is some big talk. This is some like Caden Nemoff, Dane Gingrich versus Ben Johns. Or no, Ben and
Yeah.
Caden against Dane talk. We'll partner up and play Glenn and anybody any day.
Dane Gingrich and the Badger definitely threw out the gauntlet challenge to those guys. So that's fun. And I tell you what, man, the next time everybody's at a tournament, the pickup games are going to be epic. I can promise you.
I agree.
All right. Let's see. Deepu Daiwan, which this is the first time that I've seen like an international
cool.
pickleball player jump on and make a comment from
Awesome.
from the east of the United States. So I love that. Deepu, thank you for joining in. That lets me know that people are watching this all over the world, not just in the US and Canada.
That's awesome, man.
Love it. Cameron Taylor says, "Great job, Joe. Hope to see you soon." Do you know Cameron?
Yeah, actually, Cameron's another one of my. He's involved in another one of my sponsors. So I not only am I sponsored by Selkirk and PV Sport, I'm also sponsored. I think as you as well. We're both sponsored shoes, right? We are both sponsored by Tyrol.
Tyrol, baby.
Right, and we both love the shoe. It provides phenomenal support. Let me go grab one actually, so people can see what I'm talking about. I have it in my prop room. I've converted my spare bedroom to a changing and prop facility for my videos.
I love it.
So we got the Tyrol. This is one of their older models. However, they've redone the soles of the shoe, I think as you know, with this Vibram sole to enhance the durability. And honestly, Scott, like I got these shoes a couple days before the tournament in February, and I put them on, and it really elevated my game. Like I had no issues. Like I felt like I was very stable on court. I really felt like it was a good shoe for me. So if you guys are interested, like you can go to my Instagram page, or I'm sure yours. We probably have a promo code that can get you guys some 10% off. But yeah, Cameron is involved in the grassroots of Tyrol. He's one of the founding members, along with Simone, her husband. I don't know his name. Scott, maybe?
Chad Edwards. Yep. Chad,
and then another fellow, I believe, from Canada. So we appreciate you guys, Scott and I both. Thank you guys so much for your support, and we continue to hope to represent you guys super well. And Cameron, if you are still watching this, please feel free to send me the new black striker model because it is so nice. So if you are watching this, please feel free to get in touch with me about that.
Yeah, and Cameron, feel free to send me one down to Florida as well. I would not turn that down. So no, and big shout out to Kevin Huckle, who's the owner of Tyrol, and his efforts to bring a pickleball shoe that is phenomenal to the pickleball community. They did have some issues early on with the sole being
They did.
a little too soft, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in any endeavor, this is what I always say. Anybody who's bold enough and brave enough and willing to put their money where their mouth is and create something out of nothing and put it out there
Yeah.
to the general population, I have a lot of respect for. And Kevin Huckle is that guy. And, you know, he's taken some criticism early with the sole not being quite up to par. But there is
But
some.
yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think that not like they recognized that that was an issue,
Yeah,
and then a professional company, they addressed it, and now we have
absolutely.
a shoe that will provide that durability that was maybe missing early on. And again, it wasn't missing for me because I was only playing, once a month. So like my shoes are still good, but for anyone that was playing a little longer, they needed something more durable. If you're looking in that for that shoe, please go to Tyrell's website, check it out, and yeah, I'm super happy to be with them as well.
Absolutely. I don't know what your promo code is, but my discount code for them is Golden Boy, all caps. Do you have
Wow,
one?
that's easy. I
Yeah.
do. It's harder. Let me type in the comments.
Okay.
It's JW hyphen 028, I believe.
Okay.
I'm gonna bank
All right.
on it. I'm gonna bank on it. Hope it works. And if it doesn't, message me privately and we can work something out.
I love it. All right. Chris K, who we had on the show earlier, he says, "Hi, Joe. Does your dad know that you have
Okay.
tattoos?"
All right. So this is a fun story. So I think my dad is still watching. I don't know if he's gone to bed yet. It's 7:30, so he's 20 minutes away. But when I got my first tattoo, I didn't tell my parents. I was still living under their house. I did it a little impulsively, but it did have a lot of sentiment. My first tattoo, for anyone watching, is this carpenter square. It's not a ruler. It's not an L. It's a carpenter square. And it's a symbol of Saint Joseph, who is extremely devout in my faith as a Catholic man. And any Christians, I'm sure, out there, they know Saint Joseph and his role in our faith. And also sentimental because my name is Joseph. And the first school, Scott, that I'm teaching at right now in my career is called St. Joseph's. So for me, it was like a coming of kind of like age story. Like it really felt like this. I wanted to put a stamp on like myself as an adult. Now, to my dad, he was like, "Why are you tampering with your God given body? I'm not going to talk to you for 2 weeks." So we didn't really speak for a week or so. And what's really interesting, Scott, is I got this tattoo. We didn't talk. And we had to drive out to Brooks, Alberta, which from where I lived is 33 hours in the car. We had to drive from there to here, and we had to put this aside. So you know what he did? He sent me an email, and he sent me an email, professional as it was, signed his name at the end, saying, "I don't know why you did it, but I love you. You're my son. I respect your choices, even if I don't agree with them, and I love you regardless." And we hugged it out, had a little cry. I didn't. Maybe he did. I mean, he can comment if he wants. And here we are. And I think like it really like I now have a lot of tattoos, and I think that like they're memories and inspirations that I have in my life, and they are a part of me. And if anyone, if you don't agree with tattoos, you don't see their value, that's fine. Like that's your opinion. But what it really meant to me was like it just meant that my dad saw me as me. And I think if you can ever find people in your life that value you for who you are, and are able to um, look through the challenges in your relationships and in your life and put those aside and just say like I love you, like I want to you know strengthen this relationship or whatever, then I think that's huge. And we were able to brush up this tattoo. We don't talk about it. I always wear sleeves when I'm around him, and but I love my dad. And so that's the story behind Chris K's question.
I love it. That's good, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
come from a very conservative family as well, and I don't actually personally have any tattoos yet, but I feel like my story with that would be similar. I really do.
Yeah.
Maybe not at this point because I'm 35 now, but like if I would have gotten that back when I was still living at their house, I'm sure that would be a similar story as well. So very good story there, man. All right, Jordan Briones said,
Oh, man.
make a pickleball video game. So he's maybe onto something there. Maybe you're going to become famous for your video game.
Man, if I was good at technology, like I'm good at technology, but like if I knew how to like code and like do other things like that, and I had an opportunity to do this, like I definitely would. So if anyone's out there and you're into coding, or someone at EA Sports and you want to hook me up with a Connect and build a pickleball video game, I'm all ears.
Let's do it. I love it. All right, Cassandra says she's following up with what we talked about earlier. She said, "Oh my God, yes, Althoff versus Althoff. That would be epic. I would love to see that in a
Honestly,
tournament."
that would be epic. I don't know if I could do Althoff as Althoff is. Like it took me. I don't know if that made sense, but I literally had to watch his videos. Like I watched the video of him and Dave Weinbach against Zane Navratil at like Shields Pickleball Classic or something like that. I don't know. Or I don't even know. Anyway, and I watched it, and there's so many things that he does. And then, funny enough, I messaged Kyle Solenko. Kyle, if you're watching this or you do watch this, feel free to get me on the No Smoke Show. I love your program as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome program. Anyway,
Yes.
he sent me a video of Zane Navratil intimidating Althoff, and it was just him like dropping his fists and like screaming and celebrating. So I don't know if I could do that as good as he can, but I would love to wear a golf polo, tuck it into my shorts, pull them up super high, and pretend to play like a dad. I think that's right in my wheelhouse.
That is right up your alley. I love it. All right. It looks like Deke Marshall. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Marshall.
Sounds right.
Marshall. So he says Kyle Yates versus Joe as Kyle Yates grudge match. So another good recommendation.
I'm gonna mention Kyle here. Like Kyle commented or shared. He shared our interview.
He did.
And I have not seen Kyle on this interview yet. So Kyle, if you are not watching,
call him out.
You call him out, man. You got to get on this. I've mentioned you a few times already for beating me. Now I'm calling you out, and I would love to play you Kyle versus Kyle 1-on-1. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. All right, Catherine, who you've also mentioned several times, who is an amazing
Phenomenal.
pickleball player, but she's also a great person, always smiling, always lovely. I've never seen her in a bad mood at a tournament. She's always got a smile on her face. She says, "Hey, Joe and Scott." So she's just giving us a nice.
Also, fun facts about Catherine: she's French. She wears the Canadian flag like a shield. Her and her partner Athena are amazing people. They are just so kind and so inviting. And she's also sponsored, like I said, by PB Sport and I think Paddle Tech and Tyrol, another member of Team Tyrol. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. All right, man. We've got, dude. I mean, if there was any question before, you have well outdone yourself as far as Steve Deacon's concerned.
Oh my goodness, Steve isn't even in my mind anymore. Steve is like here, and I'm here. So I'm so happy to be better than Steve Deacon at something. And maybe it's not growing a beard or playing pickleball, but it's conducting an interview.
If Steve Deacon's a 5.0 in interviews, you're a 7.0 easily.
Ooh, that's huge. Appreciate that.
All right. Again, some of our loyal super troopers here watching the whole interview. Maggie said, "Joe's video creation is mesmerizing. Can't wait for more."
Thank you.
I hope others have seen the video where Scott and Glenn overdubbed the clip where Scott hits. No. Scott didn't hit his female partner. It was Glenn. Glenn hit his female partner.
You got to set the record straight.
Yeah, I don't want to be known as the guy that hit my female partner in the head with my paddle.
No.
But that was Glenn Lucy, for anybody wondering. And then
so Glenn hits his paddle against his partner. Good to know.
100%. Okay. Congratulations on filling our time with your humor. So, you know what? Me and Glenn do have a rivalry there, but it's all in good fun.
It's all in good fun. Absolutely.
Oh, look at Ian Lapine jumping on.
Ian's jumping on it.
He would like to take the challenge, the ping pong challenge of Joe. So you know what? We're gonna make this happen. Inevitably, it's gonna happen.
We will.
He said, "I challenge you to a game of ping pong." So he's throwing out a second challenge.
Oh goodness! All right,
man. Maybe even a third challenge. He said, "I challenge you."
He's gonna take my money. He's gonna take my money. We're playing for money. Oh goodness!
So back to back comments from Ian Lapine challenging you in ping pong. I love it. Okay, Scott Yeager. I'm just clicking on these. I haven't even read them.
Yeah, man, go for it. I love it. This is perfect.
Scott and Joe versus Glenn Lucy and whoever. But after every 5 points, Joe needs to tag team into a different imitation. Dude, that would be honestly, that would be epic, man. That would be epic.
That would be. I would have to have all my outfits pre-coordinated. I'd have to have someone that's there with like a clothing rack ready to change. It's one thing to impersonate them in front of my wall in a camera, doing minimal actions, and it's another thing to impersonate them in the game. But I could probably pull it off for a couple points.
And sure. it would also put a little added pressure if, say, Althoff or Riley or Kyle was watching live Absolutely. At the time that you did it.
Here's what I'll say, man. If I'm ever going to a pro tournament and people are looking for exhibition matches, or if I'm at your tournament and you connect with me, message me, and I will come down and I will do some impersonations for you in a little exhibition match. And if any of those guys are there, I would love to challenge them one-on-one against themselves. I think that that's so fun.
That would be, oh my God. I would just want to be the live commentator for that if I could make it.
But, hey, if I go to the US or Nationals and they're looking to do a little fun day, let's get on center court. Let's get after it. That would be a time.
If you're going to be at Nationals, I'm 100% there. All the pros will be there. I think we need to set something up to at least. I think it would be a little much for you to imitate multiple characters, but maybe one or two.
Yeah.
One or two would be epic, and it would be viral. There's no question. All right, Colleen Gortz. Do you know Colleen? She says, we are watching Joe.
Yeah.
Cam heard you loud and clear. Wife. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, as I mentioned, Tyrell and Cam, I just got a message on Facebook from Cam. So thanks, Cam.
I love it. Awesome. Good stuff, Colleen. All right, Percy Harvey says, great commentary, guys. Very entertaining. Keep up the great work. So less of a question, more of a comment. But you know what, guys? I know Joe and I both appreciate all the love and support in the comments. It's been unreal to do this interview. And
it's been so fun. It's been 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's crazy.
Dude, listen, you just on a side note of that, you have officially broken the record of longest live stream interview with the Golden Boy. And that's hard because I have done some long interviews, but 2 hours and 44 minutes and 19 seconds has been pretty phenomenal.
My buddy just commented on it. LOL, you're still talking. Wrap it up.
I love it. You know what? He's right. We got to wrap it up soon, but I'm trying to get through these comments. If Joe wasn't such a just huge sensation, we would have been done about an hour ago. But Bob Katowitz says, which model Tyrell do you suggest? Go ahead and suggest one of the models that you
know what? I was using the Striker Pro previously. I was then using the Striker, and I really like it. But like I mentioned earlier, I really want to try out the new Drive V model. I think the new Drive V model is a nice streamlined shoe. I have a little more of a narrow foot, and I think the Drive might help me with that, as well as the stability. If I were, I think, again, you have to think about what kind of support you like. I think if you are an intro player, any of the options are good, but I definitely think that the Striker series will be really helpful for you. And if you are someone who's going to be running a lot, maybe a little more flexible, a little more athletic, try out the new Drive V model. I think will both help you and support your game.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's his discount code right there. If you want a little bit of a discount when you go to purchase at checkout, it's JW-028. All right, next comment. Sam Lazar says Kyle was watching for a bit. So that's good to know. At least Kyle tuned in for just a little bit there.
That's good.
I love it. All right, Bob again says, hi, Joe. Played driveway pickleball today with Grant's own lawn chair and pole net. So he's out there awesome. Getting it done.
Getting creative.
I love it.
That's unreal.
Casey Clancy, who's one of my big just friends and supporters, she says your videos are awesome, Joe. So she's in big support of it, and she's not alone.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good stuff. Brady Plunkett says, LOL, you're still talking, wrap it up. So that was Brady, the one that was.
Do you know why he's chirping me? Because when I made a video like I did for pickleball for my friends, and his was the most fun to make. So he's probably just giving me a hard time here.
I love it. Brady, thanks for tuning in. Either way, man, any publicity is good publicity for Joe. So he does appreciate that. And he says, yeah, obviously this is the longest. The guy never shuts his beak. You know what? Between the Golden Boy and you, I mean, we absolutely are running the game.
I think we have a lot of good things to say.
We do. You know what? If people look, there's still 33 people watching, And in my book,
Hey, 31 now.
that's a win. Well, 31. We lost Brady and his mom. May they rest in peace. But look, we're gonna wrap this up. I want to do, before we finish, I want to do one last thing. The rapid fire questions. These are one word answers from you. Okay, one word answers. All right. Favorite color. Favorite color. Hold on. I can't hear you. Are you good? You good? Did I lose you? Did your stuff did it?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, you're good to go. Okay, favorite color.
Okay. Green.
Favorite food.
Chicken parmesan.
Favorite restaurant.
Oh my goodness. There's a really good Indian restaurant in Brooks called Indian Pan Flame, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. How old are you?
Hopefully none of my students are watching because my age is a mystery, but I'm 25.
Okay. Favorite shot in pickleball.
The drive winner, right up the line.
Okay. What's your worst shot in pickleball?
The backhand reflex volley. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Who is your favorite pickleball pro to watch?
Probably Riley.
Awesome.
Riley Newman.
Okay, some of these you're going to repeat, but I'm going to ask them anyway because there's only 11. Where do you live?
I live in a small city in Canada, Alberta, called Brooks. It's Brooks, Alberta.
Perfect. What's your profession in real life? This has already been answered, but go ahead and answer that real quick.
I'm a high school teacher.
Perfect. How would you describe your personality in one word?
Charismatic.
Perfect. And last but not least, your question of the day with the rapid fire is, how would you describe your pickleball game in one word?
Energetic.
Awesome. That's good. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up, but Chris K will not let it go. He keeps asking questions. He said, hey, I was just wondering, how many Instagram followers does Joe have? I don't know if that's a jab or a compliment. I don't know if you should answer that.
At the Apex, I think it was like 2,500, but a lot of them, like, I blocked or unfollowed just when my modeling was really, really high. I was really involved in the fashion side of it. It was like 2,500, but I think now it's like 1,000. Still
wow,
awesome.
That's good. That's good, man. Okay, Lisa, who I'm not familiar with, but Lisa Bellinger.
My aunt.
Your aunt says everyone here is still watching, so they're super troopers.
That's awesome.
Love it. And the last question, our last comment is from Casey Clancy. She said, I just said Riley Newman before he said it. So she's just confirming her statement there. But man, listen, it's been 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 22 seconds of absolute, just blistered Steve Deacon's record of longest interview.
Doesn't even have a leg to stand on.
I'm just hammering Steve because he's probably not able to figure out how to watch this live. So when his wife Stacy lets him watch it, he'll see all the jabs at him. But great guy.
Oh, the best.
He's the best, man. He's the number one Canadian player in the world. I said in the world, but in Canada. Hopefully he'll be the best in the world soon before he hits 50.
Yeah, I don't think so. He's pretty close to 50. He's on the tipping edge, so I think he'll be the number one senior pro when he gets there, though.
I think so, man. I think when he hits 50, he's going to dominate the scene. Him and Paul Olin, no question, they're going to be the best. Dave Weinbach is going to be up there in the top three with all three of them being. I agree. Scott Moore is still currently the dominating senior pro on the tour. But when some of these, oh yeah, you know what?
I had the pleasure of playing with Kevin Booth. His wife is from Alberta. And my partner had to cancel a tournament last year in Red Deer at the facility I was telling you about, brand new facility. And Kevin Booth, I texted him. I was like, hey, do you want to play? And he's like, sure. And we went undefeated before the rain hit. But he's a class act, and he's a great guy. And I loved playing with him. So, Kevin, if you watch this, you're awesome. Keep grinding out those gold medals on the senior circuit.
Dude, you know what? I watched Kevin Booth live at Nationals at a front row seat with him and his partner, and he's sponsored, I believe, with Gearbox. And I gotta tell you, man, that dude is a beast. His partner was awesome. I can't off the top of my head, I can't remember who he was, but he was phenomenal. But they did not willingly hit the ball at I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, man. They did not hit the ball at him, and he's a guy who I think doesn't get enough recognition on the pro senior scene.
He just won Dallas with Dane. Like he definitely doesn't get the recognition. And I watched him at Vegas. He was playing with, I can't remember his partner's name, and he was playing, I think it was the guy who does Pro Connects.
That's the family out west in California.
Yeah,
the Bobby Riggs.
Dawson,
he runs the Bobby.
Dawson.
Yeah.
Steve Dawson and Steve Cole were playing, I think, against Kevin, and they like didn't hit Kevin the ball, and it was still like Kevin was really good, super solid. His partner was great, but like I would say he's not unknown, but like people need to put respect on Kevin's name for sure.
Yeah. Do you know where Kevin Booth is from? Where does he live?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't even know where he's from.
Oh, he told me he lives in Orange County, California.
Orange County. So you know what? Yeah, I mean, quick plug to Kevin Booth. The dude, I'm telling you, my jaw dropped when I watched that finals between him and his partner against Scott Moore and Glenn Peterson with Selkirk, and they beat Scott Moore and Glenn Peterson fair and square. I mean, it was not a rigged match, or it was not one that was like you look back and go, oh man, there were some referee calls that were sketchy or some line calls that were sketchy. It was a win for Kevin Booth. And I apologize for Kevin's partner, who I don't know at the moment, but also Stephanie Lane, who's watching apparently, says, let's go for 3 hours. So in the spirit of Stephanie Lane, we've got 6 minutes to go. So we're going to ride this out to 3 hours before we jump off, because it's only right at this point. We're closer to 3 hours than 2 hours.
We are. I was actually going to say, so Pickleball LLC, quick plug for your sponsor. It looks like, or you're wearing their shirt. I think what they're doing is really cool. Pickleball LLC, I don't know who to talk to there, but if you're watching this, I would love to get a wristband and include it in any of my videos or all of my videos. So Pickleball LLC, if you are watching this, like message me or whatever, and let's get in touch, because I think that your stuff is awesome and would love to get a wristband going.
I love it. All right, Casey Clancy says, seriously though, Joe, you need to make a video of the girls pros next. I don't think he needs to touch on that anymore. I believe in my spirit that that's coming. He has not told me for sure, even though we're BFFs now. But I think that's going to happen. I just do.
Yeah.
I love it.
But you guys have to go to the bathroom.
Alex, okay, well, that's another thing. We're going to have to end it at 3 hours exactly, because I have got to pee. But very tough bounce for Big K. I'm not sure who's he talking about there.
It's a buddy of mine. I don't know if I get the reference, but I'm supposed to be jumping on a video chat with them actually pretty soon. We do like a fantasy football thing where my buddy made all of us as guys characters in the game, and we're simulating a game and we're betting some money on it. So I'll have to peace out at 3 hours and go watch that.
I love it. Yeah, we're going to both peace out at 3 hours exactly. Alex, you don't have to worry about that. I will get him to you guys at 3 hours in actually 5 minutes from now. Okay, Sam says, don't you guys have to go to the bathroom? Yeah, we both definitely probably have to go to the bathroom here. I can't speak
I'm okay.
for Joe.
I'm actually fine. I'm fine, but like I totally respect the fact that we should go to the bathroom. Hey, Gabe Joseph just joined. Shout out to Gabriel Joseph, Gladiator Gabe. He is
Gabe the Gladiator.
He is an unreal singles player based out of California. Gabe, if you're watching this, you're a stud. Your hair is flawless, and if you ever want to play or team up, you know where to message me.
I love it. Yeah, Gabe the Gladiator is awesome. He's got a great just demeanor about him. His personality's real laid back and easygoing. And Gabriel Joe said not the Gladiator. So
he's Baby Curios. That's his nickname.
Baby Curios. I love it. But yeah, Gabe actually took me down, not in pickleball, folks, but in the virtual rules test that we did the other day, that was not live, but he took gold. I took a staunch silver. So you can just call me the silver
Pretty
boy.
good.
You're the bronze boy. I'm the silver boy. Gabe the Gladiator
Yeah.
is the golden boy for the moment. But also, we threw out a poll challenge with Gabe the Gladiator and Dave Weinbach versus me and Kyle Yates. And even though we won in the polls, I think the game would be a close match. I really do.
I agree. Yeah, he's a stud.
I love it. He also said, "Thanks for the shout out, my man. All love." So Gabe's great. You know, I'm glad he's
Unreal.
joining us. He's just a guy who I think's who is making his moves as well.
Yeah,
So
he surprised a lot of people. Came forth, like beat some real notable guys. Like off the top of my head, like beat Daniel Roditi. I know for sure, and definitely some more guys that I can't think of right now. But yeah, he's a stud.
I love it. And Brady to come in with the dig here.
Oh
Gabe, off the
gosh.
record, Joe's always talking about how overrated you are. I feel like that is
Woo!
just Brady's
That's
way.
shade.
That's
That is
just Brady's
shade.
way of bringing you down a notch since you're so famous and popular now in
Yeah.
pickleball.
That's Brady's way of saying get off this call and come join me on Zoom for our fantasy football talk. Don't worry, Brady, I'll be there in a second.
I love it. Yeah, we've actually got less than 2 minutes now. And then as soon as
It's amazing.
I tell you what, we're going to do the second that the 3 hour mark hits, we're going to just end the live feed. I'm going to end it.
I love it. I love it.
And that's going to be our epic way of ending it. And you've got the record so far, dude. Joe, 3 hours, man.
I don't know if anyone's going to be able to compete with that or if that's a challenge that people want to take on, but God bless you if you do. But hey man, it's been a pleasure. Like I've loved chatting with you and getting to know you more in this podcast, these 3 hours. Like it's been an awesome opportunity to reach out to more people, let them know what I have going on, the videos. And if you are seeing me for the first time in these videos and you see me on tour or at a tournament, please talk to me. Please reach out. I'm super friendly and would love to know as many of you as possible. So, but again, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been an absolute treat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know off camera you said that your only goal with this interview was to top Steve Deacon and his interview. So you've accomplished that, clearly accomplished that. So
yeah, that's it.
You're a great guy though, man. Joe, I honestly, I was meeting you just like the rest of the viewers that were watching. And it's just been a fun interview. I think it's been lighthearted most of the time. We did dive into some deeper stuff at one point.
Early, yeah.
But then we pulled it back. We pulled it back.
We
and
did.
We came back to the lighthearted. So we've got 10
and
seconds.
10 seconds. If anyone here is watching, I just released a new video today with Zane Affleck, Joey Farias, and Altaf Merchant. Please check it out.
All right. We are 3 hours. We're going to end this. Go have your fantasy football. And I'm going to go spend time with my girlfriend because she's feeling like neglected at this point. All right, buddy. Later.
Okay, man. Stay in touch. Bye.